Certain venues define their sport. Here, on this hallowed ground where legends rise and still stand, history is made. It's not a race, it's Daytona. Win here means more than the usual checkered. So few top the standings at season's end, and these drivers define greatness. But would those without a Daytona triumph trade all their wins for one 500? In Daytona, more often than not, the best emerge victorious. Last season, Newman added his name in the cement. This year, hungry drivers climb back in their rides to stake their claim to the before. Some say the 500 is overhyped, blown out of proportion. But look at these faces and tell me it doesn't mean a little more. One thing is certain, as the cameras flash and the arms ache from lifting that beautiful trophy, they know it's a good pain. NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, is next on Speed.
The beacon that is sought by all stock car racers is one of the most famous beaches in the world. Daytona is where dreams are made. From the days of racing on the sand to the move inland to the big oval, 50 years of the most fierce competition. Edge Mark Martin, and then Ryan Newman got a push from his teammate to change the history of Penske racing. A dream of a lifetime can come true today in the 51st running of the Daytona 500. Welcome to NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. It is our extreme pleasure to welcome you here to this monolith, the Daytona 500 and the Daytona International Speedway. I'm John Roberts alongside of Jimmy Spencer and Kenny Wallace, and you guys have raced at this track before. You grew up at this track. What does it mean to you every time you drive through that tunnel, Kenny Wallace?
Listen to what I've got to tell you. This is a great story. In the 70s, my dad bought a big yellow Cadillac out of St. Louis, Missouri, and he says, we're going to Daytona. Rusty Wallace, Mike Wallace, myself, we were in the back of the caddy, man. Coming out of St. Louis, snowy. I came down here, got through the tunnel. I snuck in. I didn't have a pass. I got goosebumps 30, 40 years ago. I still have goosebumps, and I've raced in this race. And Spence, I just can't believe here we are for the 51st running of the Daytona 500. Yes!
Oh, that's awesome. You know, I've had tickets in the Joe Weatherly Tower. My dad had tickets in the Joe Weatherly Tower. My dad's home watching this today. Dad, I love you, baby. You brought me here for the 500, and I've not missed one in some 20-some-odd years. And to be part of it, I can remember sitting in the grandstands with my mother and telling my mom, Mom, I'm going to race in this race. And I did, and I was fortunate. It's a special, special place. There's no other racetrack to NASCAR than Daytona. It means a lot to me. I love this race. We're going to see a heck of a race like we've seen in the past, but I always come here. It's just really special.
That it is, indeed. And no matter what you race or where you race it, chances are your dream is to end up here and perhaps even in victory lane. With so much news to cover going on in and around this racetrack this weekend, let's start out with our good friend Wendy Venturini. Wendy, it's great to see you. Good morning.
Good morning, Johnny, and all the NASCAR Race Day fans out there. We're so glad to be back. We're not going to let the rain dampen our mood today. For the Daytona 500, Spence was talking about coming here as a little kid. I have pictures of me sitting on a stack of tires when my dad was racing here at Daytona. We all love this place and we all have special memories. Now, what hasn't been special are all the guys going to the rear of the field for the start of the Daytona 500. It was a busy week here at Speedweeks. Let's start with the guys going to the back from Thursday's duel. We have Matt Kenseth, Ryan Newman, Kevin Harvick, John Andretti, Sam Hornish, and Scott Speed. Now, Tony Stewart, we'll get to Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman in just a second. I do want to mention in Friday's practice session, that was Kevin Harvick going to a backup from Friday. The rest of those guys were from the duel, except yesterday, final practice in the Sprint Cup Series for the Daytona 500. Ryan Newman blows a right rear tire, taking out his teammate and car owner, Tony Stewart. Now, the situation between these two, they both had to go to a backup car. Tony Stewart, Ryan Newman starting in the back for the Daytona 500. But here's the interesting story. If we walk through the garage area, I'm near Ryan Newman's car. They went to a backup twice this week at Speedweeks. Ryan Newman's had a rough week. Well, they ran out of race cars, so what do? You take your teammate's race car. This race car you see in the garage stall is Ryan Newman's car for today. Is Tony Stewart's original car that they had. It had a 14 Office Depot paint scheme, but today, if you check out right behind me, guys, they've already wrapped it bright and early this morning and now has the U.S. Army colors on it. Ryan Newman's good to go. They both have brand new race cars. Tony Stewart was able to practice yesterday in final practice. Ryan Newman, however, no practice for him. This will be his first lap out when the green flag drops for the Daytona 500. Hermie Sadler, it's going to be a wild one. Everything that's been going on at Speedweeks, it all comes to today.
Well, you're right, Wendy, but I want to talk about some of the drivers and teams that have had a not so eventful Speedweeks, and in a lot of cases, that's a good thing. Let's start off with number one, Martin Truex Jr. Obviously qualified on the pole last Sunday here at Daytona, but since qualifying, he has struggled with his race car. He told me as long as he's out front, car's pretty good. He gets back in traffic, they cannot find the balance they want with this race car. So Martin Truex, not exactly what he wants in his race car yet, but they've made a lot of changes in preparation for the day's race. He will start from the pole. Kyle Busch, what a week it's been for him. A decent qualifying run, but going back to video right here of Kyle Busch, he won the duel on Thursday, but Friday night in the truck race, running second going into turn 3, cannot make the pass. Yesterday's nationwide race, running second place, going into turn 3, pushing Tony Stewart, cannot make the pass. Very frustrated by not being able to seal the deal and win more races in Speedweeks. He'll be fun to watch today. In the car behind me, the 24 of Jeff Gordon, a 3-time Daytona 500 winner, won the duel on Thursday. Been a long time since I've seen Jeff Gordon this confident going into the Daytona 500. And the last guy I want to talk about, the champion, Jimmie Johnson. He has one Daytona 500 win. It's been kind of a quiet Speedweeks for Jimmie Johnson, but I think he likes it that way as he starts his quest for his 4th Sprint Cup championship. In JR, we will have the champion Jimmie Johnson later on race day here today.
Hermie, thanks a lot. Of course, this Daytona 500 has a very big trophy, a very big paycheck, but it's also the first of 36. Opening day here for the NASCAR Sprint Cup season. So, Jimmie, if you're the winner, yeah, it's a dream of a lifetime. But for the rest of these guys, they got to start the season out because 26 races end real quick, and then you're in the chase.
The key, Johnny, is what you just said, 26 races. We got to remember the NASCAR Sprint Cup, the one that Jimmie Johnson is trying to defend, become a 4-time champion. That's at the end of the rainbow. That's what they need to do. If you come out of Daytona with a 40, 42nd, 43rd place finish, man, you're in for a long road ahead. You gave up a lot of points. That's the key, Kenny, to today. If you can't win this race, don't take yourself out early. We have a long season ahead of us. First point race of the year.
Yesterday's nationwide race, I finished 16th. I garnered 120 points because I led some laps. My nephew, Stephen Wallace, 42nd. He only got 30 points. I'm trying to bring the realism to you. That's the difference. Jimmy Spencer, you're exactly right. When they race today's race, it is the Daytona 500, the biggest race in our history. But when we go to California next week, all these drivers want to have maximum points. So, although it's exciting right now, when those teams get on that airplane tonight, they're going to go, gosh, they're already going to be looking at the points. It's crazy, but that's the way they're going to do it. They do not want to go to California next week 150 points down.
And you know, the other thing, guys, how about Tommy Baldwin's racing team with Scott Riggs? How about Jeremy Mayfield's new team? No points at all, guys. They know they need to have a good day today because, and when we get to the 5th race, we go to the top 35. That locks the field in. Very important, first 5 races.
So dreams have come true so far for them, but what are the drivers feeling heading into this race? What does it feel like to be getting ready for the Daytona 500 as a driver?
Well, there's so many scenarios. You know, the thing is, Johnny, is this is a big race, over $1.5 million, $1.6 million, but you get the bragging rights, the ring, the car in the museum over here. A lot of things to consider, but you also have to remember, 500 miles, long race, guys. Don't wear your stuff out. Don't get your fenders knocked in. Don't take yourself out of the race the first 400 miles.
Michael Waltrip's very first Daytona 500 win. Myself and him, we're running, 28th, 30th all day long. And when it was time for him to go, he went. Just like Kevin Harvick did in the Bud Shootout. Just because you don't run up front all day long does not mean you're not going to win the Daytona 500. Kevin Harvick led the last lap 2 years ago.
Yeah. All right, so we got 500 miles of racing in front of us, and sometimes that all comes down to the difference of about a fender length here at the Daytona International Speedway. We've got Jimmie Johnson and Kevin Harvick coming by to talk to us, among others. But up next, Mark the Kid Martin.
NASCAR Race Day is built by the Home Depot. You can do it, we can help. Brought to you in part by Advance Auto Parts. Keep the wheels turning. And by Toyota. For the latest on Toyota racing information, visit toyotaracing.com. Toyota, moving forward.
50 times the Daytona International Speedway has hosted the Great American Race, and 50 times it has not been rained out. And we have no reason to believe that anything else will happen today. We're going racing for 500 miles at Daytona here, and that's what we're certainly hoping for. We got a great crowd with us. They expect a full grandstand here. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's drop that green flag and go racing. Let's get you inside right now to our Hermie Sadler, who is playing a little sideline gig today as meteorologist. Hermie?
Well, thank you, JR. I couldn't find Larry Mack, the resident meteorologist for the Speed Channel, for speed. But look at this radar. Doesn't look too bad. Right here, this yellow dot, that's Jimmy Spencer's head right here at Daytona International Speedway. Doesn't look too bad coming across here. Got some light green patches, but they never come across the racetrack, so don't worry about those. They are telling me, however, there's some more green back over in here that we could be looking out for. But as this other green stuff, which is clouds and rain, by the way, as it's coming across the state, it's breaking up and dissipating a little bit. And right now, just cloudy and overcast. So if it stays like this, and the bigger stuff that's coming this way, if it continues to break up and go north and south of the speedway, we'll be in good shape. And as you guys said, usually we're able to get this thing started and get it in, and we're looking to do that same thing right here today from Daytona. How about it, Wendy?
Now, Mark Martin found himself in a situation in 2007, finished second that year in the Daytona 500. Mark, what do you think about your chances here in the 2009 Daytona 500, putting yourself in that circumstance again?
Our car and our team's definitely up for it. We've got a great race car and a great race team, and everybody's charged up. I'd really like to have a lot of luck on my side too. That would complete the circle. But we've all the things that we can control, our race team is doing a great job of, and I feel really good about.
Now, when it comes to our fantasy picks, I'm on a roll. I've won the last 2 seasons in a row. I want to start the season off good. Should I pick Mark Martin because I think your car is good enough, but man, this race is so unpredictable.
It is unpredictable, and there's a lot of good race cars, and you don't even have to have the best race car. You don't even have to have that good a race car. If you're lucky, if you're in the right place at the right time, you get the right push, it just happens. So it's hard to say. This is a great race. That's why the fans are going to be glued to the, on their feet and glued to the TV.
2009, an exciting season for you, Mark. You're going for a championship, but you keep saying, I don't want to talk about championship just yet. One race at a time. What do you think so far? This is going into your first official race of 09 under the Hendrick Motorsports banner.
Oh, man, I'm living a dream. This is just such an incredible privilege to be a part of Hendrick Motorsports. And, this race team is just, beyond my expectations. And I've been in the car a few times, and it's been really, really good. I don't know. I think that this is going to be a great year. I really, really do. And I know I've got my work cut out for me. I know that I got to race against the very best in history. And I've got some great teammates, and I'm real grateful for that. And at the same time, I also have to try to beat them. And that's a tall order when you're talking about, you know, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon and Jimmie Johnson. So, and all the other guys on the racetrack as well. So we've got a great race team, a great effort, and I think that we'll do okay.
All right, good luck to Mark Martin. He's also going to have a great view of the green flag. When it drops, he's going to be on the outside front row. We have a couple more hours to all fantasy picks, but I might be going with Mark Martin. I'll keep you posted.
That may be a very wise move, Wendy. You know, this is the 25th Daytona 500 for Mark Martin. He has 5 top 5 finishes, including that second place back in 2007. We'll be back with much more from Daytona in a moment. Welcome back, everyone, to the Daytona 500 edition of NASCAR Race Day, and it's time for another racing question from Ask.com, the official search engine of NASCAR. Do you know how many miles are in the NASCAR Sprint Cup season? I think we got a couple of guesses up here, but if you really want to find out, go to Ask.com, the official search engine of NASCAR. Now, you're going to have to go to Ask.com occasionally this year to figure out who is driving what. 2009 is a year of change, in some cases, a huge change. So let's get you caught up on who is where in 09.
At Stewart Haas, Smoke's the boss and is back with Chevy. He's got a 2-car team and is looking to win right out of the gate.
It's probably been the most fun off-season I think I've ever had. I've really enjoyed being here. We've got a great group of guys now.
Gone is the familiar number 20 Home Depot car. In its place, the number 14, with 3 different sponsors sharing the season.
Ryan Newman, Roger Penske win the Daytona 500. Way to go, guys, way to go.
2008 Daytona 500 winner Ryan Newman has left Penske Racing to be with his fellow Hoosier. He's got a new crew chief, new number, and new sponsor, and is ready to defend his Daytona crown. Filling the void left by the 2 veterans, David Stremme will be taking over the number 12 Dodge for Penske Racing. And the JGR number 20 will have the future of NASCAR in the driver's seat. Known as Sliced Bread, Joey Logano will have the distinction of being the youngest driver ever to start the Daytona 500. Toyota and Red Bull have turned the 84 into the 82 and is piloted by F1 star Scott Speed, taking over for A.J. Allmendinger. RCR is gaining a 4th team this season. Clint Boyer is switching from the Jack Daniels 07 to drive the new Childress number 33. Casey Mears will be in the 07 and is locked into the 500 thanks to Boyer's points.
Sometimes it's all about being in the right place at the right time. That is the case for Clint Boyer as he wins the Crown Royal 400 at Richmond.
Mears' vacant seat in the famed Hendrick 5 car opened the door for Mark Martin's return to full-time competition.
I want to experience the feeling of winning again.
And his quest to win the Great American Race. In order to stay alive and competitive, several teams have merged. Gillette Evernham Motorsports and Petty Enterprises combined efforts and became Richard Petty Motorsports, a 4-car team with Casey Kane leading the way.
We appreciate you all coming out and letting the world know that we're still in the racing business, and we've joined up and we're going to be bigger and better than we've ever been.
Elliott Sadler remains in the 19 after almost losing his ride when the teams merged. Reed Sorensen takes over the reins of the legendary number 43, while the 10 becomes the 44 driven by A.J. Allmendinger, with hopes in running a full season. DEI and Ganassi Racing have also joined forces with Daytona 500 pole sitter Martin Truex Jr., Eric Almirola, and Juan Pablo Montoya driving full-time in their stable.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2009 Yates Racing Hall of Fame racing team. Thank you very much.
Yates Racing played some NASCAR musical chairs as well. Hall of Fame Racing joins them and brings with them the 96. 2000 Cup champion Bobby Labonte is set behind the wheel.
I'm still pinching myself because this is a great opportunity.
The famous 28 stays, but its owner's points go to the 98 team with Paul Menard in the driver's seat. In the 28 will be Travis Kvapil for now. The car's future is dependent on making the top 35. Changes are abound for the 2009 season, which starts here and now.
Now, it became obvious at the end of the 2008 season that the economic downturn was going to have an effect on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. But out of a negative came a huge positive, as while some teams went away, new teams, new drivers, and new car owners surfaced in new places. So we got a lot of new faces out there, Jimmy, but they're all competitive, and they're all here with the same idea to run the full season and do well in the Daytona 500.
Yeah, and Johnny, you know, when you look at this and you say, oh my gosh, we're losing race teams, well, we're gaining a lot of race teams. We've gained a lot of new teams. Well, Ganassi and Earnhardt merger, well, he gets rid of all of his Dodges. That allows the 40 cars to get dispersed amongst these new team owners. We've got Bill Davis closing down. Tommy Baldwin's team and then Randy Humphrey's team buys these Toyotas. The key here is that even though you think it's bad, it's good. We have a lot of new teams. Jeremy Mayfield's team's brand new. Tommy Baldwin's team, we're going to hear a lot out of him this year. I think it's good for the sport, Kenny.
And you know what? Listen to these names. Petty, DEI, Ganassi, Yates. A lot of these teams were close to shutting down. It was total devastation in the wintertime. And all of a sudden, Daytona gets a month away. And all of a sudden, all this happiness and all this positive comes to fruition. Why? Because they said, let's put all our sponsors together. And they saved themselves. So, you know, Richard Petty Motorsports was Gillette Motorsports. Now it's Richard Petty Motorsports. DEI, Ganassi, they were separate. Now they're together, so everybody's happy. And now let's just get going and see how long it lasts.
Now what it does is it gets you back to old school racing, where some teams put together a car on a wing and a prayer and came down here to Daytona and made the great American race. Hermie Sadler.
You're right, JR. And one of the aspects of off-season changes that I think is one of the biggest ones that I can remember since I've been involved in this sport is the changing to the testing policy, not allowing teams to go test at places where they have NASCAR sanctioned races, including here at Daytona. We're used to spending the whole month of January basically between here and Talladega preseason testing, getting ready for the Daytona 500. And Jimmy and Kenny talk about the new teams, the Tommy Baldwins, Jeremy Mayfield, these guys able to buy cars and come down and be competitive. One reason they're able to do that is that they can buy these cars and get them ready in the shop and not have to worry about missing testing at Daytona and feel like they're getting behind. I think a real thumbs up to NASCAR. This testing policy has been a big money saver for the teams, and you guys know the competition has been just as fierce this Speedweeks as it ever has been without the testing.
Hermie, thanks a lot. 25 days ago, Jeremy Mayfield didn't have a race team. Now he's racing in the Daytona 500. So now let's get the good stuff on the Napa News with Wendy Venturini.
Well, thanks, Johnny. We have been talking about all these new teams. Like you said, a lot of them didn't even exist a few weeks ago. Let's start off with Jeremy Mayfield, the number 41, one of these single car operation teams in the Daytona 500. Now, what happens after today? Well, that's what we want to look forward to in the news. Next week, California. The next two races are out west. We head to Vegas after California. There are 46 cars entered at California, including Jeremy Mayfield in the 41 and Tommy Baldwin's number 36. Now, I talked to Jeremy yesterday. They are confident for the first 5 races they will be able to gain enough points to stay in the top 35. Obviously, that's the goal. Their sponsor, Allsport, will be with them for the first 5 races of the season. They're going to see where it goes from there, but their goal, top 35. In talking with Tommy Baldwin with the 36, they have their sponsor for today in the Daytona 500 and next week in California. However, he's got some more sponsorships in the works. But just like Hermie Sadler mentioned, Tommy Baldwin attributes the no testing policy and the changes within NASCAR, allowing people like Tommy Baldwin to start up these teams, to get here, to be in the Daytona 500. It was a dream for Tommy to get into this race with his new team. He's tried it in the past, he's trying it again. These guys, like you said, Johnny, a wing and a prayer, they are in the Daytona 500, and we will see them attempt to make the next week race when we head out west to California. Can you believe we're already talking about California? I can't believe it, Johnny.
Hey, once we start this thing, Wendy, the races just start coming at you. But Kenny Wallace, you have driven, just 1 year ago, you drove a car that spent most of the season outside of the top 35. Those guys talked about being in the top 35, how important it is, and you felt it personally.
Well, it's brutal because, you know what, I'm going to take a quote from my brother, Rusty Wallace. He says, Herm, I said, what, bro? He says it should be illegal to go to Daytona or California or Vegas under that much stress. Most of us racers come up in an era, and you can vouch for this, Spence, where you just came to the racetrack in your race. I mean, what's been going on now? It's brutal. I mean, you're tensed up. I mean, people can't even drink caffeine anymore because their heart starts catapulting. Joe Nemechek, I mean, Scott Riggs, all these guys are going to go to California. Happy they made the Daytona 500, Scott Riggs, but he knows now he's got to cut that lap at California. Listen to this, Spence. Your truck and trailer's got to load up on this side of the United States, drive 2 days. 2 days for one lap. And if you screw the one lap up, you don't get to start. And those are the things that all of us racers think about. You know what? Hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Exactly, and sometimes the worst can happen and you don't make one of these Sprint Cup races. Now, fans, be sure to tune in to NASCAR Performance. Join Larry Mack and company for all the nuts and bolts of racing next week, February 22nd, 2 o'clock at the Auto Club Speedway. Larry, Chad, and Booty will have all the nuts and bolts on NASCAR Performance. Welcome back, everyone, to the Daytona International Speedway. The overriding theme in NASCAR this year is change. New faces and new places, but for one team, a big change meant going back to a familiar place.
Hey guys, I'm back with Target this year. I was with them for 2 years, about actually 10 years ago, so I'm pretty pumped up to be back with them. Now, last time I was IndyCar, this time it's NASCAR, so it's pretty exciting. I'm gonna come and try to do an employee training. I think it's pretty hard, but we'll see how it comes out, so we'll see. Come on.
Welcome. Glad to have you back at Target.
Thank you.
We're gonna treat you as a new team member, kind of go on a little store tour.
Okay.
So we're gonna start this way.
Okay. So I'll tell you, this is definitely my favorite department. It's find all kinds of games, cameras, you name it, it's incredible. What are you doing here?
Oh, just practicing my Guitar Hero, man.
All right, you're fast on the racetrack. Let's see how fast you can stock these shelves as a new team member. So.
All right, let's give it a try. There you go.
All right, not bad. All right, now the big test is the cashier part. So we're gonna get you ringing up some guests up here. See how quick you can do that.
Sorry.
Here's your first guest.
Are you open?
For you? Yeah, come on.
Aren't you just supposed to swipe it?
I'm kind of slow, and I thought this would be more cool than just going clunk. You see? I could go like clunk, clunk. You see? Like that, but it's unprofessional. I gotta talk to the guest. This is good.
Just take your time, man.
This is actually really good.
He's training. This is his first day.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, that's what they tell me in the race car as well. Take your time, don't worry. Do you want to save 10% by opening a Target red card?
Actually, Juan, I already have mine.
Employee training? You see what employee training did? I learned you never have a customer here. When you come to Target, you're actually our guest. How cool is that?
The fun side of Target and Juan Pablo Montoya. Juan, how'd that scanner gun work? Did it work out for you? It looks like you were having fun.
Yeah, it's just, I thought it was boring just going through the normal scanner. I thought, take the little gun and shoot.
Takes a little bit more talent. All right, let's talk about talent on the racetrack today. You start 8th, Daytona 500. Last year, you finished 7th, which was a respectable top 10 finish for you. What can you do? Because these cars are very unpredictable, as we're hearing.
I don't know where I finished last year. I don't think I finished 7. It doesn't matter, but last year we had a good car. It wasn't great. I think this year we got great cars. I think the Target Chevy here is incredible. I think Martin's car is very good as well. So it's going to be an interesting day for us. With this weather, anything can happen. It's one of those days that, you're hoping to get the race in. You've been here for about 2 weeks already, so it's kind of let's go home.
Well, it's not quite ready for all of us to go home. Earnhardt Ganassi banner, that's new sponsors we've been talking about for you. An exciting day for you for this Daytona 500. What does this all mean to you when it comes to a head like this after being here for 2 weeks? From a driver's approach, how do you approach and finally get into the zone of race day?
Well, I think, when you have a good car, I think we got a really good car. And, anything can happen. But, the initial approach for us is just try to ride most of the day. put ourselves in a good position when it comes to like 20 or 30 to go to start, looking for opportunities to get to the front and see what happens.
All right, we are going to have to wait to see what happens. Hopefully it will be today, Johnny, if this weather holds off. Juan and I think we're going to get the race in today. It's going to happen. Please.
Hey,
we
Wendy,
say please
yes.
today at Daytona 500, Johnny.
All we got to do is think positive, and we'll will the clouds away from us. We're going racing this afternoon here at Daytona. But when we come back to NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, some special guests coming by. Jimmie Johnson, 3-time defending champion, and also Kevin Harvick, a guy who has won at this track before and is off to a great start. Race fans, it is now time for our power update presented by Interstate Batteries, where we're going to take you back through the highlights of Speedweeks thus far. Let's take you back to last weekend when the Budweiser Shootout ran under the lights for the 31st time here at Daytona. Kevin Harvick won that. Now let's move ahead to Martin Truex, who last Sunday took the pole position for the Daytona 500, and that's a great start for that new team.
Here, big surprise, Johnny. Mark Martin, first ride in Hendrick. Outside pole, Johnny, for the Daytona 500.
Then Jeff Gordon got back into victory lane after a long absence, winning duel number 1. Kyle Busch was able to win duel number 2 for his first victory.
Look him block Mark Martin. Oh, no. Don't be blocking Mark Martin, Kyle.
And then in the Camping World Truck Series race, you saw it live right here on Speed. We had the big one, a huge one.
You know, we've been picking on these rookies, and they've done a heck of a job. Friday night, they did a great job. Well, a veteran driver, top of 9, caused this big wreck. Took out Ricky Carmichael, a bunch of guys. I was pretty upset over that, Kenny, because those guys have getting criticized. They did a good job. But you know what? Todd ends up winning the race, 2 in a row. Good job for those guys, though. But didn't like the accident.
And then how about Tony Stewart's debut with Hendrick Motorsports Alliance in a nationwide series car as he took the victory yesterday, and that was his 4th out of the last 5 Saturday wins in Daytona.
And you know what? How about Rick Hendrick? Is he good or what? He says, I'm going to put a car together, put Hendrick.com on it, and Tony Stewart wins the race. Rick Hendrick cannot lose.
Yeah, especially now that whole thing is going to translate over in the Cup Series, they hope.
Yeah, and they're running strong, Johnny. You know, the Roush team isn't as strong as it need to be. You haven't seen the likes of Edwards and Matt Kenseth and Biffle. I mean, they haven't been strong, so it looks like now Hendricks are the favorite, no question.
But sometimes it's the quiet ones, Kenny, that poke their heads up by the end of the week.
Well, last year, we didn't think Ryan Newman was going to win it. Everybody was down on Dodge, and 2 Dodges come to win the race, with a push from Kurt Busch. And then the year before, it was the quiet one, Kevin Harvick. So I don't know about a favorite for this 500.
So what we're basically saying is anything can and will happen in the Great American Race. It kicks off the season, and we're kicking off the season here at Daytona as well. And how about this, Earnhardt fans? The last 2 Daytona 500s, one on February 15th, were won by a guy named Earnhardt.
One of the advantages of Tony's move is chilling in the Queen City full time. Smoke sits down with Wendy and lets her in on the big move.
I was very comfortable where I was at, was happy where I was at. I was with a group of people that I'd been with for a third of my life. So, it was a big change to make this adjustment.
Coming at you, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
You know, the Daytona 500 trophy and check, well, those are big prizes, but how about the first great competition of the year? It goes all the way back to last season, and it was called Jimmie versus Kenny to see how many people they could get to sit in the backstretch with them, and it was a neck-and-neck competition. We'll have results of that in just a moment, but right now, to get you ready for the Sit with Kenny and Jimmie program, let's go back in the backstretch, way back there, where we've kind of tried to keep Rutledge Wood the whole time. He's back there, and he's found some friends now. Rutledge?
John, you can't hold me down back here. I love the backstretch. We are in the Sit with Jimmie, Sit with Kenny section. Right now, we're in the Sit with Kenny section, as you can tell, because we've got this fantastic bobblehead here. And I have to say, Kenny's handsome even in a bobblehead. Look at that. Unfortunately, it does not make the we're working on that. So I've made some new friends here. You guys are from Iowa?
We're from Iowa.
What part?
Burlington.
And you are in the Sit with Kenny section because?
Because he's from St. Louis.
So he's from the Lou, and he's proud, and that's why you guys are over here.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And where you guys live?
St. Augustine.
St. Augustine, and I noticed that you are not elderly. Okay, I thought that was just me. I thought it was everyone else. And goodness, what is your name?
Steven.
Steven, who are you pulling for today?
Jimmie Johnson.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Anyone else on your radar?
Nope.
Pretty much just Jimmy.
Yep.
Look at that. So you guys are enjoying the show, right? It's good so far? Later, the boys are coming out. Until then, we just get to have a good time. It's going to be crazy. It's someone's birthday. I don't want to tell you who, but it rhymes with Jimmie Johnson. So, boys, I'm going to keep having some fun out here. Whenever you're ready, you guys just come join me. We're going to love it, Jimmy.
Oh, man. Rutledge, make sure you get the hot dogs and beer ready. I'll be there.
Done. Consider it done, my friend.
And happy birthday to our friend, Mr. Excitement. Was it 36 or 35? 36.
I lost count, Johnny.
He just doesn't count. And congratulations to our man, Kenny Wallace, who finished 16th in the Nationwide Series race yesterday.
Thank you. I had a good run in the U.S. Border Patrol Chevrolet, but I am going to throw these out. All you people
We
on the
promised them.
backstretch, I've got a whole bunch. I'm going to throw them out. They're seat cushions. Do not throw them at Kyle Busch or Kurt Busch. They're to sit on. I will be there.
All right, so happy birthday to Jimmy. And you know what? We have to announce that Kenny Wallace, just by a nose, won the Sit with Jimmy and Kenny competition. And the premiere of Bull Run is coming soon on Speed. Join Bill Goldberg for a trek across the nation you won't forget.
Welcome back to NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot here at Daytona International Speedway, where the tech inspection is underway and some of these cars still in the garage area. One of them includes number 14 of Tony Stewart, who of course started his new venture for the 2009 season. Now, as Tony goes into this new phase of his life, as we like to call it, we're learning some things about him as an owner and as a driver. Now, he has relocated for the to area from Indiana, but we are learning that Tony Stewart is not changing any of his late sleeping patterns. Now, no testing this winter. What did that mean for Tony Stewart? It meant it was probably the busiest off-season ever for him. All right, Tony, you left Indiana for the winter, spent most of your time at your new shop in Charlotte. How's it been spending time in the North Carolina area again?
It wasn't bad, and I think especially since we had such a harsh winter in Indiana this year, there really wasn't much I was going to be able to do when I got there. So I feel like I've had a more productive winter, obviously, being down there, and it's the busiest off-season I've ever had, but it's been busy in a way that I've really enjoyed. It's been, you know, as much as I probably should have done like Ryan did and spent time at home and relaxed and just got ready for the season, I wake up every day excited to go see what's new at the shop, what the guys have done and accomplished from the day before that I haven't seen yet. You know, that's stuff that I look forward to every day when I wake up. So as much as it was busy, at the same time it was gratifying when you got there and learning new people and, you know, messing with the guys at the shop and getting them to realize that, hey, you're just a person just like they are.
And I'm sure you're up at the crack of dawn at the shop and the last one to leave at the end of the day, right?
I'm closer to the last one to leave, but I'm not. I get there at the crack of noon, so I'm not. I don't think I actually made it before noon more than twice, I think.
When you were in Charlotte, you relocated back to Indiana. Do you think it really matters where a driver lives? Do you think it helps to be in the hub of Charlotte, or hurts you? Does it help to get away?
Yeah, I think it's good to get away from it. I mean, you know, the area that most of us all live in, it's such a fishbowl, and it's not so much. It's with each other. I mean, it's the people you see every weekend, which you're buddies with those guys anyway. But still, even with that, you got to get away. You got to get away and reset. And you know, some of those guys love being around each other every day. I prefer to get away a little bit, and I like my property in Indiana, and I'm proud that I'm from Indiana and still live in the town I grew up in. But this year was just different. I mean, I needed to be down there, and it wasn't a feeling of guilt that you had to be there. It was because I wanted to be there. You know, this summer when the weather gets nice and if everything's going well with the team, then I'll go home for a little bit when the weather's nice and I can work on my property a little bit and I'll get away. But you know, with this new endeavor, I need to be down there and I need to be in the middle of it and be learning about what I need to do to be a better car owner.
And in talking with Tony Stewart this season, I was a little bit afraid his personality might change becoming a car owner, but his sarcasm and his sense of humor is exactly the way it was. Now, later on in NASCAR Race Day, you'll hear part 2 of The Real Deal from Tony Stewart and his teammate, Ryan Newman. It's been a difficult week of Speedweeks for those two. We'll tell you some more about that later on in the show. But Johnny, new venture for Tony Stewart, Stewart Haas Racing. It's very different from Joe Gibbs Racing, but nonetheless, Tony Stewart is rolling with these changes and doing a great job as a car owner so far in the first race of the 2009 season.
Wendy, thanks a lot. Good to hear it's the same old smoke, even though he's an owner now. Let's take a look at the history of owner drivers in NASCAR. The last champion was Alan Kulwicki, and that was back in 1992. The last win for an owner driver was the combination of Ricky Rudd and crew chief Bill Engel. Got a little hot, but they got a victory at 1998. Now, Daytona 500 this year, we will have owner drivers in Robbie Gordon, Tony Stewart, Jeremy Mayfield, and Michael Waltrip. Want to bring in our good friend Hermie Sadler, the pride of Emporia, Virginia, who's getting fired up for this Daytona 500. Hermie, we talked earlier with these guys. I mean, you come from a racing family, come down here a lot. Do you still get the goosebumps when you go through there?
If you don't, you don't need to be involved in NASCAR. I mean, everybody who's a fan or drives a race car on a dirt track or a quarter mile, a go-kart, you want to make it to Daytona, to the Daytona 500. So as long as they'll let me go through this tunnel, I'm coming down here every year, I tell you that.
And you have come down here as an owner driver before.
Yeah, and it's an interesting discussion that we got going on here, and talking about Tony Stewart and some of the other guys that had maybe success right out of the box, but maybe not long term. But I think the thing with Tony Stewart, and these guys may want to add in, he did it out of an opportunity. He had a great opportunity. Some guys, like in my case, I did it out of necessity. I didn't really have a situation that I could go to that I thought would do it the way I wanted to do it. So I think there's a big difference between doing it because you think you have to or doing it because you think it's a great opportunity. Tony Stewart's got a great support group around him, great sponsors, great engineers, great support. I mean, he's going to do great. You can't classify what he's doing the same as some of what these other guys have done in the past, in my opinion.
And Harvey, I agree. You listen here. Wendy, you're wrong. This sport has changed. And when you can get under the fold of a Rick Hendrick, that's no different than Joe Gibbs. It's probably way stronger than Joe Gibbs. You look at the past championships, it's always Hendrick, 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 Hendrick. Tony saw an opening here. This format now, with all this engineering, the engine program, everything that he's got available to him, he couldn't ask for a better opportunity. Times have changed. When Waltrip and Rudd, those guys were involved, single-car teams, they didn't have that much in place as Hendrick has. No, Tony's going to be strong. He's got a heck of a partner in Ryan Newman. They're going to do pretty doggone good together.
And also, let's not forget that where Haas CNC Racing, they were established before. They were partners with Hendrick, basically.
Building.
Beautiful building. So there was a lot of infrastructure in place for Tony to move in on.
Yeah, and here's what I want to say. Listen, Stewart Haas. Who's Haas? Haas is one of the wealthiest people in the United States. That's who Stewart Haas is. Tony Stewart is one of the smartest race car drivers to come in a long time, because all the other drivers, I think the only one I know that was successful was the great one, Alan Kulwicki, very smart man out of Wisconsin, won the championship. Tony Stewart is an awesome man because he wins on the racetrack, and he's got these wealthy people saying, hey, Tony, please come in and take this ownership role and get my team up and going. Tony, congratulations. You surrounded yourself with winning people, wealthy people, and it's all gonna be good. Good job, Tony.
Hey, let's not forget one last thing. The four-team rule that NASCAR has now. 4 teams. Rick Hendrick's already got 4. Maybe Tony Stewart might end up with 4 more under that banner.
Good point.
You never know. Look at Tony Stewart's resume, and almost every click on that resume ends with the word championship. So that's what he's got going into this new venture. We got to go into a commercial break here on NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. When we come back to Daytona, we're going to take a lap around this Colossus, the Daytona International Speedway.
It's been a major drought for some big-time Cup players. How long has it been? And will they get their mojos back? We'll let you know. Straight ahead, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
Shortly after 3 p.m. today, we will witness the running of the 51st Great American Race, the Daytona 500, in front of a packed house here at the Daytona International Speedway. But right now, we want to get you back in the middle of it all and rejoin our good friend Wendy Venturini. Wendy, what's happening down there?
Well, there's a lot going on in the garage right now, and it may seem it's kind of quiet, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of things going on. Martin Truex is joining us on NASCAR Race Day, the pole sitter for the Daytona 500 today. Congratulations to you, because that's got to be an awesome feat and a great view when that green flag drops.
Yeah, thanks. It is great. It's great for all the guys on the team. They get all the credit on this one. So it's been a fun week. You know, usually you get a pole and you only get to enjoy it for a night. We've got to enjoy it for a whole week. So it's been great for all the guys, great for the guys back at the shop. And the Bass Pro Chevy's real fast, so we're hoping we can keep it up front all day today.
Now, fast doesn't always mean comfortable. You know, you got a handle here at Daytona. I've been watching you and listening to you on the scanner throughout the practice sessions. You weren't really happy with your car for a lot of those days. You were very vocal about getting it a little bit more comfortable. Yesterday in final practice, how did it go? How much more better do you feel about your race car now?
Well, I slept a lot better last night than I have the past few. We got it really good in about midway through happy hour yesterday, so real happy with the guys. We actually just kind of went back to where we started last week. We got away from the setup in the one that we had in the 150. It's not quite as fast the way it is, but it handles a whole lot better. So hopefully that'll play into helping us get to the front today and stay up there all day long.
Now, I think you're lying to me when you said you slept better last night. You've probably gone through the start of this race a million times in your head since you won the pole. What is that feeling? What are you going to feel when you take the field to the start of the Daytona 500 today? Any nerves going on inside?
No, not really. I mean, you know, on one hand, it's just another race, but it is the Daytona 500. It is a big deal. I'm really excited to be the one leading the field to the green, but I want to be the one crossing the finish line at the end of the race first, too. So the biggest thing I've been thinking about is what I need to do to be smart, to stay out of trouble, to be around at the end of this thing. And I feel like if you can be around at the end, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to have a shot at it. So hopefully we'll be one of them, and we'll have a great day.
All right, good luck to you at the start of the race and at the end. Martin Truex seems very even-keeled, Johnny, but I know he's very excited about taking that green flag for the field today.
That's a great job by that team to get that pole-sitting car, especially because of the new merging with the Earnhardt Corporation to form Earnhardt Ganassi Racing. Now, many of the drivers will have their hands full today. As part of the Advanced Auto Parts Texplanation, Hermie Sadler is going to show us that some of the things that makes the racing great for fans is hard on the drivers. Hermie?
Well, thank you, JR. And here our new Advanced Auto Parts cutaway car here. Let's talk about the wing. And if fans see the wing on this new car at the racetrack, sure, it looks cool, but what does it do? It acts as a spoiler. The teams have a little bit of adjustment with this spoiler. They can have a minimum of 10 degrees, or next week in California, they'll raise this spoiler up to a maximum of 16 degrees. Now, NASCAR also provides this gurney lip to put on the back that you have to put on, but NASCAR mandates it also to help the air hit the spoiler. But a big challenge it faces here at Daytona is vision. Drivers in the draft looking behind from a car through have to look away to the front of this car. And if you go to the other side, hand signals being made. Also, let's look at the other side of the car. If the
Well, we apologize. We lost Hermie Sadler's mic. We're going to get that fixed and get back down to him in a second. But, guys, I think that was probably the biggest concern that drivers had, especially at the plate tracks, that vision would be blocked by that wing.
Yeah, and we saw that, and we're seeing more and more of it, especially in this draft. And the big thing, Johnny, is that NASCAR's looking at things. Maybe we can look at moving some stuff around. So, you know, who knows? NASCAR never gives up on this stuff.
Yep. Let's take a lap around this, what we like to call the Colossus, the Daytona International Speedway, and we're riding along with young Joey Logano. Don't you always have to say young before you say Joey Logano?
Well, gosh, you know, he's only 18. He's done a heck of a job so far. But, you know, here he is, and he's following I can't read it.
McMurray.
Oh, McMurray, what a good year they're having. Kenny, here he goes down into turn one. The bump is still here, but you also notice, this is what these guys have been fighting here in the Home Depot car, every team. The bumps, the aggressiveness of the bump stops. That's the big thing that these guys are fighting as they head to the back straightaway.
And down the back straightaway where you will sit with Jimmie or Kenny. Let's go into turn 3 is on the outside of the number 78 car. Pan of the wall, there's a safe walls. Now look, race fans, right here is where the big bumps are. Riding high, not afraid to die. Boom.
See the car moving. Look at this, guys.
Boom, right there.
Hermie.
Boom.
Yeah, a lot of character, a lot of bumps on this racetrack. very, very difficult for the teams this week to find speed as well as getting a nice, comfortable ride over these bumps.
And, you know, I was talking with some of the guys earlier. That's just some of the stuff they're fighting, guys. And the thing that they're fighting more than anything is that if you get the ride just right, it's fine. But when you get down into the center of the corner and you get in them wafers of bumps, it bounces the car up and they have to push or lift. Biggest thing, they have to lift because it starts to push. That's something that causes the wrecks. Usually it's because of that bump effect, Johnny.
Now here's the big question this week as Hermie Sadler joins us once again. Where is the best place to be on the last lap of a Daytona race? Kenny Wallace, you were out there yesterday, and also we watched at the Bud Shootout last Saturday night, and sometimes being in the lead isn't the best place to be.
Well, it looks to me like if you're running about fourth, because that's where Harvick was, then he got to second. Now here's the key. Did Harvick win this race? Yes, but who really won it? It was Denny Hamlin that won the race. Why? Because, well, he paid the price, but he was pushing the 29. And that's who has been winning these races, the pusher, the guy that pushes.
But here's Thursday. Now, Kyle Busch leading this race, guys. Last lap, here it comes, Hermie. Now, I don't agree with that move, but you know what? He doesn't lose the lead on the last lap.
That's a slide job. And really what happens when you give that big push going into the corner, they get away from you too far, Jimmy. You lose your momentum. You make a big push. You check up a little bit. You don't have the momentum to get back to the line. Kyle Busch, 2 times in a row, could not make the pass. Here he is pushing Tony Stewart, trying to push him out of the way, Spence.
Yeah, and you know, we were talking earlier. I believe Kyle Busch will start doing that when he takes the white flag going into 1 and 2. Give him credit, you know, he did try a dirty moving away on Tony, and you know what? Give him credit on the end of it. He lifts, he lets Tony get back in line and takes it. So, you know, I don't know, I think that Kyle, I feel bad for you because you are getting second and third, and you're going to figure this thing out, and the competition don't want you to figure it out.
You simply cannot hold Kyle Busch down for long.
One other thing we want to watch out for is coming to pit road. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was practicing it yesterday, getting in on pit road on the green. That'll be fun to watch.
It's as hard here to slow down as it is to go fast. We got to send Hermie Sadler back inside to continue his work in there. We're going to keep you company out here on the speed stage. We got Joey Logano coming by to join us in just a moment, but also a guy who has won so far this week in Speedweeks, and that's Kevin Harvick. He joins us as well.
While NASCAR Nation waits for the green flag to drop on 09, Race Day's got the cure for your fever. Wendy's back with Smoke, who's joined by his new stablemate for part 2 of The Real Deal. Ken Squire reminisces about the first 500 while we flash back to the 79 race. Happy drops by to talk shop before Wendy and Hermie ambush the drivers. Two-time champ with the first fantasy picks of 09. And then the 2 weirdos hit the stands to mingle with their fans. We've got another 90 still to come, so let our gang be your backseat drivers. NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot continues now.
50 years of this great American race have happened right here at one of the world's most famous beaches, the Daytona Beach. And this year, another driver will have the thrill of a lifetime, and that is to hoist the Harley J. Earl Trophy and spray champagne in Daytona's Victory Lane. Harvick did it in 07, Newman did it last year, and now this also begins the quest for Jimmie Johnson to hoist a 4th Sprint Cup Championship trophy in a row. So now let's get you back down inside where all is going on and all is happening. The excitement is building as Wendy is standing by with the champ himself, Jimmie Johnson. Wendy, take it away.
Thanks, Johnny. Yeah, the excitement's building even here in the motorhome lot. It's very chaotic. All the drivers have been walking around, and you could tell they're all doing media this morning. Jimmie Johnson, here we are, the day, the race day for the Daytona 500 finally. Let's first talk about last year. Everyone's talking about a 4th championship this year. Let's get it right out of the bat. Let's clear the air. What are your thoughts of the critical media about that 4th championship this season?
Well, I mean, I'm very excited for our chances. It'd be so neat to do something that's never been done before in the sport. I feel that with everything that Rick gives us at Hendrick Motorsports, we'll have a good shot at it. Lowe's is an amazing sponsor, Chad and all the guys. I mean, we're all still here and ready to go for it. The truth of the matter is that we have 26 races just to make the chase, and then there's 10 after that. So it's in the back of our minds for sure, but we recognize that we need to be on top of our game and start the season off right and make the chase, first of all.
All right, let's talk about today, race day. Obviously different weather here. It might be a little bit rainy as the day goes on. How has Chad Knaus prepared this race car for you, and how has it changed throughout the week in getting it to handle correctly?
We've done a very good job of making our cars drive right. Jeff's been real happy. Mark has, Junior has, and then from there, I have as well. We've kind of moved around and have found speed, and it's that compromise of speed versus handling. So we'll see if we made the right decisions, and with these changing conditions, I think there's going to be less of a swing and handling from day to night. Hopefully we get this in today. I know the weather isn't looking all that good, but that Lowe's Impala should be in great shape.
With all handling aside, a lot of time it's the luck of the draw and where you are being in the wrong place at the wrong time possibly. How can someone with your experience and your caliber, you seem to avoid that stuff for the most part. What is the goal of staying out of trouble here at the super speedway like this?
You know, here it's a little easier because things get drawn out after 10 or 15 laps. Talladega is much more difficult to stay out of trouble. And the other part with my experience here, I know and accept the fact that the winner is gonna have other things happen, and he might be able to predict where that push is coming from or where that good draft is gonna come from. But in most circumstances, the guy that's running 5th or 6th, taking the white flag, ends up winning this thing. So with that in mind, I think my experience is gonna allow me to stay relaxed today, stay calm, and just really take care of my car for 498 miles, and then really go for it on that last lap.
You've talked about your teammates earlier, about Hendrick Motorsports bringing on Mark Martin. How cool is it to have Mark Martin under the team banner and to gain more experience, even if you possibly could, from a guy like Mark Martin and what he brings to the organization?
Yeah, it's special to have him. I really look forward to California and the rest of the season. It's so tough here at Daytona to really get inside of his head and understand what he's looking for, and things like that relative to the car. But outside of the car, I think he's going to bring a lot to Hendrick Motorsports, a lot to all of us drivers as far as our commitment, training, workout, dedication. For somebody at his age to have an 18-year-old's heart and to drive like an 18-year-old, it's inspiring to all of us.
Well, good luck to Jimmie Johnson. And Jimmy Spencer's telling me in my ear, if you win a 4th championship, Jimmie Spencer is going to change the spelling of his name to IE.
Okay, I like this. It's the drive to change it from Y to IE. I love it.
Yeah, there we go. Catching on, Spence. I think there's a chance you may be changing the spelling of your name. Could be. It's going to be a long season, but you never know. Johnny?
You know what the problem is? Wendy and Spencer just learned how to spell his name with a Y just a couple years ago.
Johnny, it's my birthday.
I'm kidding you.
You guys are
kidding you, Spence. If we didn't kid you, we didn't love you. So we must really love you. Let's take a look at the final standings from 2008, and Jimmie Johnson was able to tie an existing record.
Take a picture, fans. It's going to change next year. You're looking at 3 Childress cars. Only one's going to make it this year. You're going to see the Donnie Wingo-led 26 Jamie McMurray car make this thing. The 20 car, I don't believe they're going to make the chase. You're going to see a lot newness out of that 24 car, Jeff Gordon-Kenny. I'm excited. The 39 car for Ryan Newman, Stewart Racing. Look out for that team.
A lot of people say, who will be in it? Well, look, we all pretty much know who's going to be in it. Johnson, Gordon, Stewart, Mark Martin. But who will not be in it? I'm very concerned. Now, listen, I'm rooting you on. I'm not being negative about you. I'm worried about the Dodge camp because they don't have enough cars. I'm really worried about Casey Kane and Kurt Busch. 2 great drivers, but they gotta scoot those Dodges on. So I'm worried about those guys being left out.
Difference, Richard Petty to that camp. You will see a lot difference, a lot more different than
a lot different.
You'll see it a lot better. Richard Petty doesn't win 7 championships and 7 Daytona 500s. You're going to see a lot more out of Everett.
It's going to improve.
Everett. Oh,
he don't even own a car no more.
You guys got me all confused.
Hey, you know what I think is going to happen? Mark this down. Brian Vicker's going to make the chase this year.
I believe that. Yep. I really do.
I don't believe that.
No. If he does make it, we're going to play back this tape. If he doesn't make it, we'll forget the tape even exists. That's the way we do it here. All right, we got to now go to Chad Knaus, who knows certainly how to make things happen as he takes us to our Sunoco pit strategy of the week.
So here we are at the start of a new season in 2009. back at Daytona, where it all begins every single year. The biggest race of the year, and actually one of the most difficult races that we've got for a crew chief. This is the single roughest racetrack that we come to. And you can see it. If you look at the in-car camera of these guys, they are sawing at the wheel. The tires are getting beaten up. It is very difficult to even go for a full Sunoco fuel run, which is about 43 to maybe 45 laps if you're really pushing it. But the thing that we've got in our sides, the race starts at 3:30 in the afternoon. That means as the race progresses, the track is going to cool off. The handling characteristics of the cars are going to get a little bit better, but the track will get faster. As these cars pick up speed, what typically happens is going into the corner, they've got so much speed the tires can't hold on to the grip, and the cars are going to get a little bit tighter. Handling is going to be a premium. Pit strategy and track position are going to be key, and we'll see who kicks off the season with the win.
Chad Knaus, thanks a lot. It's good to see you back here again this year with the Sunoco pit strategy. And when the work week ends, the NASCAR action is just getting fired up on speed. It all begins with NASCAR Live at noon. And don't miss NASCAR Trackside at 10 p.m. Eastern. Speed will be there at the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana. Keep the wheels turning. In roughly 3 hours, the green flag will wave on the 51st running of the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. You can see it live on Fox, but stay with us here on Speed as we get you right up to the pre-race activities. And there are a lot of those activities going on as the stands are starting to fill up and the teams are starting to present their cars to the starting grid for this biggest event of the year in NASCAR, the Daytona 500. Now, racing does not get much more competitive than the Sprint Cup Series, and a perfect example is the caliber of driver that went winless last season. Some of the biggest names in the sport were shut out of victory lane in 08, but now they have a clean slate.
Harvick to the lead, and Johnson's in the wall. Denny Hamlin gets a piece. Turn number 4, Kevin Harvick looking for the checkered flag. McMurray goes second. Meanwhile, that spill continues to unfold in turn 4.
Kevin Harvick comes from the rear to the front. He will win the Budweiser shootout.
What a race, man. That was wild as heck there at the end.
Kevin Harvick knows how to win, but it's been 3 days short of 2 years since Happy saw a points victory last.
At the stripe, Kevin Harvick gets it by inches, and Kevin Harvick is the 2007 Daytona 500 winner.
And while 08 was without checkers, it was still a solid season. It was his second season in a row without a DNF. Harvick had 9 consecutive top 10s, lasting well into the chase. Only Jimmie Johnson had a better streak and finished 4th in the standings.
Good job, Kevin. You guys done a hell of a job tonight. We'll get her up there for you, buddy.
However, while Harvick was a chase competitor, to be a serious contender, you have to get to victory lane.
Trouble coming off of turn 4. It looks like it's Matt Kenseth involved in this melee as well.
2008 marked Matt Kenseth's first season since 2001 without a victory.
There's a 17 car. One of our chase contenders. Matt was 9th in the points.
The 2003 Cup champion last saw the checkered flag at the season finale at Homestead in 07.
Been the man all evening. Ford is going to victory lane at Homestead Miami Speedway. Matt Kenseth wins the Ford 400.
Fast forward to last week. The 17 was strong at the shootout.
Matt Kenseth decided the timing was right. He steps out of line with drafting help from Carl Edwards. Matt will take over the lead.
And one of Roush Fenway's top teams will be looking to build upon their former success and strut their championship medal once again.
Up front, 5-car breakaway, led by Jeff Gordon.
Gordon leads off turn number 4, but here comes Tony Stewart.
Jeff Gordon wins the first race of the Gatorade Duel.
And Jeff Gordon is trying to do something in 2009 that he was unable to do for the first time since his 1993 rookie season.
Hard to believe that Jeff Gordon has not won in 2008 after what has been a remarkable career. 81 career victories. Charlotte, October of 2007. Last time Jeff Gordon has won.
2009 is a season whose record book isn't written yet, and its first entry gets inscribed today at Daytona.
Kevin Harvick knows how to win the Daytona 500, and he's already figured out how to win here during Speedweeks in 2009. Congrats on that Bud Shootout win. But now we have to look forward to today. Good thing is that shootout car we know is good, and it's actually going to be the car you have to race today.
Yeah, we had a little bit of trouble there in practice and got a little tight at the back of the pack there and wound up hitting the fence with our primary car. So not exactly the scenario that you want to work out, but our Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet guys have done a good job in preparing the car. The car drove okay yesterday and needed to make a few adjustments. And obviously the weather has kind of thrown us for a little bit of a loop today with everything that we've done all week in the sun and the conditions there. It's totally different today. So just part of the Daytona 500. We were talking about how long the week is leading up to this race and just all the different emotions that you go through, starting off winning the race and having some trouble in practice, and then now we're getting ready for the big race of the weekend.
Now, we keep hearing these cars are overly sensitive and you really can't get a good feel a lot of times. Were you able to get that car handling? Obviously in the Bud Shootout, but in yesterday's final practice, you guys are working on it. Now with this weather change, as you were just talking about, what's a common goal to get the handling and the speed in this car?
Well, I think I thought they were hard to drive until I drove my Nationwide car yesterday. That thing was so loose that it was hard to hang on to. But these cars, they do move around a lot more than those particular cars. But I think the main thing is just getting that second run in. The first run, obviously, it's rained a little bit. Nothing too drastic, but just working on the handling the second run and seeing where the tire wear is and what you got to do to manage the car until the end of the race.
Now, Joey Logano is going to join our guys on the set in just a few seconds. What advice could you give to Joey Logano? He is, an 18-year-old about to run the Daytona 500 today. I'm sure he's a bundle of nerves. You guys have enough going on yourselves as veteran drivers. What advice would you give young Joey Logano?
Well, I think the hardest thing to do when you come here for the first time is just get over all the emotions of all the hype leading up to the race. Obviously, he's in a position where there's a little bit of extra hype leading up to it, but I think a good goal for him today would just be finish the race, and usually if you do that here, you have a good day.
It sure is, and Kevin Harvick hopes to end his day today much like he did in 2007. And Johnny, the adjective young, referring to Joey Logano, was just for you, my friend.
Yeah, well, when you think about Joey Logano being 18, Spencer has scars that are 18. And Joey Logano joins us now on the Home Depot stage. Joey, good to see you, man.
What's up, guys?
It is hard to imagine, thinking back to when we were 18, just how exciting this day must be for you.
Oh, it's crazy exciting. It's the biggest day of my life by far. So to be starting a Daytona 500, it's a dream come true since I was 6 years old, and to finally get here, it's a heck of an accomplishment, that's for sure.
It's here, man.
Joey, my very first Daytona 500, I think it was 1993, 15 years ago, and Mark came up to me before the race and he says, Kenny, realistically, it would be a success for a top 20. What do you think? What is your realistic goals for today? Would a top 20 make you happy?
Yeah, I think it would. I think what Harvick said is pretty much right. Finish the race. That's the big deal here, to gain experience, gain the respect from the veterans out there, and wherever we are at the end, just be smart. I mean, that's what we got to do. We got to finish the race. Learn all this draft and stuff, all that stuff. It's all new to me. So, I think as long as I finish the race, I'll learn more for the next time we come back here. And even through the whole year, it's going to be like that. So I know that going into it, and it'll be all right.
What are going to be the expectations of the Home Depot team this year and yourself?
I've just been saying everyone the same thing I just said. Gain the respect from the veterans. If you're going to be here for a long time, you got to do it right. First impressions mean a lot. So that's going to be the first priority, and then from there, just learn as much as I can and do the best we can. We don't have that preseason test, and so it's going to take us a while for me and Zippy get used to each other. When I say loose, how loose. When I say tight, how tight, kind of thing. So that just takes time.
That's the thing I noticed, Joey, too, is your teammates Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin up there, helping you along. And I saw you up on the truck, somebody in your car. You're going to see a lot more of that this year, giving you some more guidance, because I think it's very, very beneficial.
It's big, for sure. For those guys that to actually help me that much. I mean, for Kyle to jump in the car and help me that much, that's a big deal for me. Because when I said a car sucks up, I don't know how much a car should suck up, because it's the first time I've been here. So that type of stuff is something a rookie really doesn't know. So to have a veteran like Kyle or Denny help me out in all those different situations, it's huge.
Joey, last year on this show, me and Spence were not critical of you, but we said we think he's too young, doesn't have enough experience.
I watched that show,
Yeah. It's so fun, Joey, because everybody's like, oh, you're being critical of Joey Logano. I said, you don't understand. Joey lives next to me. We're friends. So respond to us, me and Spence, saying you're too young.
You know what? It's probably 1 year earlier than I thought it was going to be. But, it is what it is. Would you turn down the Home Depot Toyota? Would you? I mean,
no.
Hey, you I don't think anyone would do that. So, I mean, you got to take it. And
listen to the Home Depot fans.
It's going for me.
Yeah, baby.
All right. So, just, I mean, it's an opportunity of a lifetime. It might not ever happen again. So you got to take it, and it's going to be a bumpy road along the way. But as long as you know that going into it and you work hard with it, everything will be all right.
How old was Kyle Busch when he won his first Cup race?
18.
18 years old. Go for it.
Yeah, it's 20. It's 20.
20?
Oh, but close enough.
got a couple
So you got to beat him. You got a couple years to
Be
beat
the
him.
youngest.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Joey Logano, thank you so much for coming by. Best of luck out there. It's going to be an exciting day for you no matter what happens. Congratulations to Joey Logano. He's got to go and get ready to race this Daytona 500. We got to take a commercial break, and we'll be back in just a moment to continue previewing this great American race.
After history was made, a new day approaches. Mr. NASCAR is on the rise. Are you ready? Get ready, Mr. NASCAR is. Everybody start your engine, all the fans get in gear. Get your mind focused as we prepare for another year. Wave the green flag. Let's race. Is everybody ready? Let's begin the chase. Everybody start your engine, all the fans get in gear. Get your mind focused as we prepare for another year. Wave the green flag. Let's race. Is everybody ready? Let's begin the chase. Fans they get ready by cheering their favorite driver. Hoping they be like Jimmie and bring the team a title. Greg, Biffle, Kurt Busch, Casey Kane, Matt Kenseth, Jeff Burton, Ryan Newman, all racing to the finish. Daytona 500, that's kicking the season off. 10 months after that, will Jimmie still be the boss? Ain't no telling with the sport. Those drivers that's so elite, surviving, trying to compete. Everybody get on your feet. Yeah, one time for the pit crews, sweating, making quick moves, fresh tires, more fuel, just so that you won't lose to be the best. You gotta beat the best. 48 cars, get ready to be put to the test. They say to be the best, you gotta beat the best. 48 cars, get ready to be put to the test. Soon as the anthem done and the planes clear the sky, Carl Edwards take the track with revenge in his eye. Yeah.
Excellent advice right there. Let's race. We are just a couple of hours away from the official start of the 2009 NASCAR season. Joey Logano was kind enough to come by and join us here at the Home Depot stage, and he is getting ready to become the youngest driver ever to start this great American race at the age of 18. He's got some big shoes to fill, but also big shoes to fill are those of the Daytona 500 winners of the past. Will it be a repeat winner this year, or will it be somebody completely new in Victory Lane? Now, Hermie Sadler is standing by with a guy who has visited Victory Lane here at Daytona before, but never after the Daytona 500.
Well, you're right, JR. Standing with Jamie McMurray, taking a swig of the Coke Zero. Now, you have won at Daytona, but I know you want to get that Daytona 500. And as I go around the garage and say, who to look out for, they say, the Hendrick cars or Jamie McMurray? What do you think?
Well, I guess that's good that people think we have a fast car. The Crown Royal Ford Fusion's been really good. It was good in the shootout. And obviously our 500 car got wrecked, and so we got to pull it back out, and it ran really good in the 150. I was a little bit conservative at the end because I wanted to race this car today. So adjusted on a little bit yesterday, and it seems to handle well. I think with it being cloudy today that a lot of guys' cars are going to handle better. So if it were up to me, it would maybe be a hot, slick day, but our car drives good.
I was going to ask you about the weather. I mean, a lot cooler, overcast, and hopefully if the conditions go back to close like they were with this car in the shootout, maybe at least you guys know what to do at that time of night when we get there.
Yeah, we're not, I don't think we're a long ways from the setup that we ran in the shootout, and certainly the Yates horsepower at night was really good during the shootout. So, if that's what happens, I think the track will be a little bit different because there's a lot of rubber on it. But it seems like the cars that have been fast every practice session, and fortunately we've got to have one of those cars.
And we wish you good luck tonight. And by the way, that's a great shirt.
You like it?
You look like you're ready to go win the Daytona 500. Let's go back to JR.
Hermie, who do you suppose we need to know to get a shirt like that? I bet you could work on that for us. That'd be a good shirt to have. Now, the guy who has the best shirt, though, this year on speed across the whole network is definitely Rutledge Wood. We have to use the big old zoom camera to get all the way across this huge racetrack to find Rutledge Wood. And Rutledge, I'm so happy after the course of DirecTV Speedweeks, you haven't had any friends out there with you on the backstretch. Now you have friends.
John, I have friends, and there are more on their way. I'm back here now in the Sit with Jimmie section. Earlier, I was with the Kenny fans. Right now, we've got all sorts of people. We got the speed team here. You guys want to sit with Jimmie or Kenny? The boys are going to be out here shortly. Here's what I've learned. These guys, there is no bad weather on the backstretch at all today. It just isn't going to happen. So we've got fun-free stuff. Look at that. We've got koozies, we've got hats, and we even have a little surprise coming up for Spencer when he gets out here. So, John, I wish you could be out here. These are the real fans. The backstretch is where it's at. You can see everything. I got all of 1 and 2, all of 3 and 4, and I got the big TV here. I can catch everything. I think Spencer would call that a Trinitron. Isn't that what it's called, Spence?
Something like that. Rutledge, thanks a lot, and thanks to all the fans that have participated in the Sit with Jimmie or Sit with Kenny. Remember what they promised. Jimmie promised more food and more beverages, and Kenny promised more entertainment. So we'll see shortly if they live up to those promises as they head back out to the backstretch. We got to head to a commercial, but when we come back here, we're hanging out with a couple thousand of our closest friends as they're getting ready to witness history, as you always do at Daytona. Affordable ticket packages are still available to experience the thrill of NASCAR at Las Vegas during the 2009 season. Experience the unique combination of racing action and entertainment, and we even understand that there is a Kenny Wallace impersonator in the Neon Garage area. We'll have to go and check that out. You saw him?
I saw Elvis.
Spencer saw Elvis, and he was real, too. Go to lvms.com or dial the 800 number on your screen and get involved out at Las Vegas, and be sure to join us here at the Speed Stage in 2009 at Vegas. It is time now for our Best Western, Best and the Rest part of the show. And right now, I think after the way this week is gone, whether it be practice, qualifying, or anything like that, you have to say among the best is the Hendrick Motorsports Group.
Yeah, the key here to me is they haven't tore anything up. The 24 and 48, you see them working here together. The 14, don't forget that's an annex team. You know, Kenny, the thing is that Mark Martin sets on the pole, sets on the outside pole with a Hendrick car. The thing I see here with the Hendrick organization, stronger and stronger every year. I think they can defend their championship.
And here's Mark Martin on the outside. There's Dale Jr. That's the 4th car being pushed by a Gibbs car. Hendrick, Gibbs. And you know what? Even Hendrick wins the nationwide race by Tony Stewart.
All right, now what about Stewart-Haas Racing? Are you considering them among the best right now? Granted, they had to go to the backup, but what do you think?
Well, I don't want to stir up any controversy, but to me, Stewart and Haas is the same thing as the Hendrick. I know they are different, but they got Hendrick motors, they got Hendrick chassis, Darian Grubb, Jimmie Johnson's old crew chief. I mean, Tony Stewart's really smart, so I consider that a 5th and a 6th Hendrick team.
And what I like about this organization is the people that's over there. Darian Grubb, don't forget, fans, won the Daytona 500 with Jimmie Johnson when Chad got kicked out for cheating. And I don't agree with that. But anyway, Darian Grubb won his first 500 for Jimmie Johnson. He is Tony Stewart's crew chief. And let's face it, Tony put a bunch of people together from a lot of different organizations. He's got Rick Hendrick on his back going, good job, guys.
Now, what about the rest? What about the Roush Racing organization? They have been relatively quiet with the exception of Jamie McMurray, who we just heard from here on race day.
I'll tell you something, not strong. I have not think that Roush is having the Speedweeks they want by any imagination. Jamie had a good run in the Bud Shootout, but since then, 17, 16 in the Twin, the duels, not strong. Look at the Biff spinning out. Biff must have spun out 6 or 7 times this week already. Maybe they've got this thing straightened out. And also, don't forget that the Yates organization, part of Roush, they're not running strong either. So something's going on there, Kenny.
And, you know, once again, here is a Roush car. This is David Reagan. Just, you know, gets into a mischief, none of his doing. So, you know, maybe one of the Roush guys just need to say a big prayer and get some luck on their side. And you never know who's going to win the 500 anyway.
And we've seen it so many times over the last couple of years that you never know until the final lap. Now, Carl Edwards made a lot of noise in the championship chase the last couple of years, but again, he's been fairly quiet this Speedweeks, Wendy Venturini.
Yeah, if there's one guy we haven't heard a ton about, it has been Carl Edwards. He may be one of those guys that's going to sneak up at the end of the Daytona 500. We've talked about how you really haven't been in the media that much. You've been kind of quietly going through Speedweeks, but Ryan Newman did it last year, and it paid off for him. Are you sneaking up on everyone today?
I don't know. I was just getting some tips. Rex Ryan came by. I got to meet him, and he was telling me the ins and outs of teamwork and how to do it here. And you know, you brought up Ryan, and I was parked next to him last year. And when he came over after all the media stuff, I mean, the guy was walking on air, and I'll never forget that. You know, that look that he had. You know, just winning the Daytona 500, and if that could be us this year, if that could be me, that'd be spectacular. But I just real excited to be here, seeing all these fans here, knowing that the sport is alive and healthy, and people are excited about racing. That's cool.
And it's really cool, the day of the Daytona 500. We have special guests all over the garage area. What's the most exciting thing that's happened for Speedweeks? And the cool part that we have celebrities when you yourself are seen as celebrities by race fans.
I don't know. You know, it's wild. Just all the people that come out here to see this thing. But the coolest part for me, by far, was yesterday. You know, coming off turn 4 with Tony and Kyle and Clint, and we're all fighting for the win. I mean, that's cool, you know. I got to go up to the Aflac suite earlier, and they're sitting right there at the start-finish line. And it almost gave me chills to think that, you know, today someone's going to come across that finish line and win the Daytona 500 in front of all those people, and that's the cool part to me.
So who do you think has more pressure? The head coach of the New York Jets here, Rex Ryan, or you trying to win the Daytona 500 today?
Well, that's a tough call.
You say Carl.
No question, Carl.
I got the pressure. He said he's going to go to the Super Bowl in the next couple of years. So,
what do you think, Rex? Who has more pressure?
No, definitely Carl. My thing's easy. You know, I depend on a lot of guys like Carl does, but he's the guy behind the wheel, so a lot more pressure on him.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us on race day. And congratulations to Carl Edwards, who officially got married in the offseason, he and Kate. Yes, extra hardware on his left finger, but he hopes to take home some extra hardware today. Johnny?
52 pounds worth of hardware, to be exact. That's what the Harley J. Earl Trophy weighs, and whoever gets that also gets a pretty hefty paycheck with it as well. You can see that race today on the Fox Network starting at 2 o'clock Eastern. On the Fox pre-race show today, Fox will review the off-season changes. They'll speak with all the big-name drivers. They'll celebrate the 20th anniversary of Darrell Waltrip's Daytona 500 win, and Keith Urban also will perform live. And now we want to bring in the voice of the Fox Race broadcast team, Mike Joy and Larry McReynolds as well. Mike, you've seen a lot of these Daytona 500s. Does it ever get any less exciting to be in this position for you?
I don't think so, John. The anticipation that builds up over months. Actually, the anticipation of winning the Daytona 500 will start tomorrow for at least 42 of these drivers. And no, it never gets old. It's just always more and more exciting. And, you know, you're right up on your tiptoes waiting for this race to start. Every year, it just never diminishes.
And, you know, Larry, we talk so much about the pressure that's on these drivers. What about the guys sitting on top of the pit boxes? They make the right call. They're also known as heroes as well.
Well, it does, Johnny. And when you look at the things that's happened this week, you know, handling, as always, has become a premium down here. And it's almost like the more that we went through the week, the more that handling becomes an issue. We've got these teams that there'll be 7 backup cars starting this race today, including Ryan Newman's 39 car that has not seen the racetrack yet. The first lap it will make will be when it takes the green flag. And then, of course, we have the lingering tire situation. That's exactly what put Ryan Newman in his 39 car in this position. They had a right rear tire come apart yesterday. I talked to the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company this morning. They do feel like that tire was cut down, but we've had some issues, including in the dual races on Thursday.
Larry and Mike Joy, thanks so much, guys. We appreciate it. We will be watching today at 2 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to take you up to that time, and then the Fox crew will take you away for some of the best broadcasting anywhere on the Fox network as they continue their broadcasting of the Daytona 500. Now, we got to take a little walk here, guys. We're going to go inside. I'm going to team up with Ken Squire in the fan zone, and you guys are going back to the backstretch to join your fans.
We are going to the back,
baby. Coming back to see you, Rod.
We're coming to see you backstretch. Here we come.
Don't forget this guy when you talk about Stewart Haas. Newman joins Tony to continue the conversation, and the duo fills us in on their new digs.
There's a lot of things that we not only have the common interest at the racetrack, but away from the racetrack.
Finishing each other's sentences, too?
Sometimes, yeah, when needed.
Stay tuned. NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
Welcome back to NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. We are less than 3 hours away from the drop of the green flag. We hope. It's Sunday, it's race day, and it is the Daytona 500. Now, here in the garage area, things are really heating up despite the weather today. Of course, the 2009 Daytona 500, we hope to get into the books today. However, we want to take a look back at 2008. It was a crazy finish. Let's recap what happened from the start of the day to the end of the day for one person named Ryan Newman in an exciting finish to the 08 Daytona 500.
It's one of the most famous venues in all of sports, the Daytona International Speedway, and it all starts here every year.
When you come here to Daytona, everything starts picking up. The holiday season's over with. It's time to get back to business.
The Daytona 500, indeed, the great American race.
All 43 of these teams, when they walk the garage here today, they believe that they can win the Daytona 500. This thing is a marathon. You've got to be ready to do that. Physically, mentally, that car's got to be prepared. You know, you've got to be on top of it.
50th anniversary Daytona 500. Starts today. 48 on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Biggity, biggity, biggity. Let's go racing, boys.
This is the driver's worst time in the race right now, other than the finish maybe. Seeing what you got and getting settled in.
I think we're a little bit too tight on the bottom. I can tell right from the beginning we're pushing a little bit, but it hasn't gotten a push yet. I can just tell it's leaning that way.
Gordon up the racetrack, almost got into push, and here comes Ryan Newman.
Good job.
Now Denny Hamlin going for the lead on the bottom of the racetrack. Takes it away from Kyle Busch over in turn 4.
We're 61 laps into this race. We have had 7 different leaders and a dozen lead changes already. A car I've been watching in this group, he has been awfully strong all week long. He kind of fell back at the start of the race. He's in that outside line. Kurt Busch's teammate, Ryan Newman, in that 12 car.
Still got 2 inside there.
Zigging and zagging. Junior trying to hang on to the lead.
You can see Dale Earnhardt Jr. put the block on the back straightaway.
Behind him, knocking the hell out of his bumper. I think it was a 12.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. struggling with his car right now. He's dropped a little off the pace.
I think there's a storm brewing, boys. I hear thunder. Oh, there they go. Off a 2, off a 2.
Jimmie Johnson goes around Martin Truex. Johnson had been stuck in the middle coming by the start-finish line, what we call the sucker hole, and backing up.
White flag, bail lap, 1 to go.
Toyota on the inside lane, Dodge on the outside lane. Who's going to win it?
It's got to come all the way to the wire. Here they go into turn 3.
Teammates working together. 2018, 2-12. 12 is going to win this race. I don't believe they can catch him back to the line.
He's going to have to make it wide. He'll have to make it wide.
It's the Boilermaker, Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman, Roger Penske win the Daytona 500.
Way to go, guys. Way to go.
Awesome, man, awesome.
As Ryan Newman comes out of his car down in Gatorade Victory Lane and salutes the crowd and his team, the gold confetti flies everywhere down there.
And it seems like just days ago I was interviewing Ryan Newman after that win of the Daytona 500. We had that gold confetti at our interview for The Real Deal. Here we are, a year later. How much has changed? Of course, Ryan Newman now joining Tony Stewart at Stewart-Haas Racing. And what a combination. We decided what better way to start the 2009 season than to get into this relationship between Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman. Despite the difficulty they've had at Speedweeks, these two are in good spirits, and the sarcasm, as you will learn, runs deep.
All right, guys, both of you have been friends for a while now. What is
Where'd she get that?
Friends?
Who are you?
You're not friends. We're not friends. What is the one thing that you've learned about each other since becoming teammates?
Don't make each other mad.
I think you knew that before, didn't you?
There you go.
No, I think the thing that I've noticed is just how many common interests we have. I mean, it's between the love of short track racing. We're big fans of vintage race cars.
Vintage cars?
Huh?
Vintage cars, too.
Vintage cars, yeah.
Yeah, and race cars.
And race cars and wildlife and outdoors and fishing and hunting. I mean, there's a lot of things that we not only have the common interest at the racetrack, but away from the racetrack.
Finishing each other's sentences, too?
Sometimes, yeah, when needed.
Tony, I think the biggest question everyone's asking is whether you will be able to wear all the hats, the driver, the owner, or are you even going to try?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, but there's 7 days in a week, and it's knowing which hat to wear on which day. And Monday through Thursday, you wear the owner hat. You know, when we get to the track Thursday evening and wake up Friday morning, strictly being a driver.
All right, Ryan.
He doesn't really have a hat that says driver and a hat that says owner.
Really
It's a
should've came
figure
up.
of speech, just so you know.
It is.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I
Ryan.
don't wear hats very much. No, anymore.
So, Ryan, what do you think about your boss so far? Is he pretty strict? Or do you have to say nice things about him because he's sitting right here with us?
No, well, that's the thing. We can kind of say what we want to each other, and you know, we're okay with it because we were saying it for a reason, and it's always to make the race cars go faster. So, I mean, we're good.
I don't think there's a
so
time.
far so good. That's what I tell everybody.
Yeah, we haven't made it to a race yet.
No. I told him before, we're here to have fun. I want to have fun, and getting along is the first part of having fun. And if we get along, then the guys on the teams get along, and it's just a great start to the season.
New is the term for you. New car, new team, new owner, new manufacturer, sponsor, number. Is that pretty scary for you? I mean, the unknown of what's going to happen this season and how it all might gel together.
No, it's not scary at all, because the new beginning part of it is just because we're together, starting that beginning. These guys, Tony Gibson, the engineer, the tire guy, all these guys, they've done it. They've been successful doing it. It's just a matter of us getting together, letting the chemistry happen, and enjoying it. And I'm not scared about that at all. I feel very confident.
No, Tony, you as an owner, I don't know if scared is the right term, but this is new territory for you. How do you approach it all? How are you feeling about it?
I would be lying if I didn't say there was a part of me that's scared to death, and it's not scared that it's going to fail. It's scared of letting Ryan down, scared of letting Tony Gibson and Darian Grubb and Bobby Hutchins and all these people that believe that I'm going to make a difference and do this the right way and make it be successful. That's the people you worry about letting down. It's not the personal side that you worry about. It's the people that have entrusted you to make this happen and make it be right.
The Daytona 500 last year, this guy sitting next to you shattered your dreams of a Daytona 500 win. Obviously, no hard feelings because you turned around and hired him.
Yeah, it's like if you can't beat them, join them. So if you can't beat them, hire them. So no, it's good. I mean, I think that's something that we're both proud about is that, we both know we know how to be there at the end. Now we get to do it together. I told him, I said, if I can't win, I hope I'm running second and you're leading it again. So we do that. There's going to be a big party at the shop when we get back. I can promise you that.
And I'm sure it will be a big party, but for now, they're going to have to wait a few more hours for this Daytona 500 if we get it in today, Hermie. But when you look at the relationship with Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman, it seems like it was a match made in heaven. These two Indiana natives, why do you think Tony Stewart really chose Ryan Newman as his teammate at Stewart-Haas?
Well, Wendy, you can look at the fact that they're fellow Indiana natives. That helps. I think their personalities are very similar. I think they'll complement each other. That helps. But the real reason Tony Stewart picked Ryan Newman, 13 wins and 43 pole positions. The guy performs on the racetrack. And when you got a two-car team, qualifying with this new car is very, very important. Nobody better than Ryan Newman at that. And also, Wendy, he compliments the sponsor. Ryan Newman is not a real talkative guy sometimes. He doesn't come in the garage area doing jumping jacks and all that, but a very tough guy. U.S. Army needs tough guys too. So I think the whole combination really works well for Ryan and Tony, but the bottom line is the guy can get it done on the racetrack on qualifying day and race day. He won the Daytona 500 last year, as we talked about. I think like you, Wendy, a great match, very determined guys that really love to race and really are here to win, and really nothing much else above that.
And you could see that relationship when they sat down for that interview and how they interacted with each other. And Tony gave Ryan a hard time for using big words and his vocabulary, but their sense of humor is right on page, and they have been very entertaining. However, they have not been very happy in the last 48 hours. In fact, Ryan Newman's had probably one of the toughest speed weeks out of anyone here in the garage. This was yesterday's final practice session. Keep in mind, Ryan Newman is already in a backup car earlier in the week, and he had an engine failure. So Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman having a rough speed weeks here. It continued into yesterday. Now, what happened from there? Well, Well, they are 3 backup cars later because Ryan Newman in his second backup car actually had to resort to Tony Stewart's number 14. It was a red car as of yesterday. Just this morning, Ryan Newman's U.S. Army car did get wrapped in his official colors, while this backup car of Tony Stewart that's being raced today did get on the racetrack yesterday, did get some laps in that final practice, but Ryan Newman, as we've talked about in the show, no practice, no laps under that car for Ryan Newman. It's going to be very interesting to see how the 39 car reacts. Keep in mind, both these guys will be starting from the rear of the field for the Daytona 500, along with 7 other guys. It's going to be crazy, but we hope to get this race in on time as the clouds look like they might be clearing up here at Daytona International Speedway. We'll be back after this right here on Race Day.
Before we look ahead to the big race, let's remember where this all started. Our pal Ken Squire takes you back to 1959 and that first 500. Around the Turn, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
It's one of the world's best-known beaches and the site of some of the first competitive racing. From the sand to the high banks, the word Daytona means racing, and today we will see the 51st edition of this great American race. Many of these Daytona 500s have changed the history of racing, but perhaps the one that had the most impact on the sport's popularity was back in 1979.
From the world's center of speed, welcome to the 21st annual Daytona 500. First time in history, we hope to be bringing you live pictures from inside a racing car actually in the event. I can tell you, you're going to get a feeling for speed such as you've never seen. There's the word. Light goes green. Critical time. Donnie Allison goes out in front. Baker dropping to second. We're 29 laps into the race, 72.5 miles. It's Bobby Allison low, Donnie Allison high. Side by side into turn 1 at over 190 miles an hour.
And Cale Yarborough getting a nice draft from both of them there. Donnie Allison.
Oh, Donnie Allison out of control. He's spinning. He gets hit by his brother. He's all the way around.
Cale Yarborough's on the grass, that wet grass now incredibly slippery.
Donnie and Bobby Allison and Cale Yarborough off the track. Now there's the kid to watch. This kid Earnhardt in the Australian number 2, the car out of California, the driver from North Carolina.
We could have a rookie win the race. The Daytona 500 could be won by Dale Earnhardt.
Here they are out of turn number 2.
White flag is out. 1 lap to go.
It's all come down to this. Out of turn 2, Donnie Allison in first. Where will Cale make his move? He comes from the inside. Donnie Allison throws the block. Cale hits him. He slides. Donnie Allison slides. They hit again. They drive into the turn. They're hitting the wall. They're head on the wall. They slide down to the inside, but they're out of it. Who is going to win it? Down the back straightaway come the leaders now. Richard Petty is now pulling out in front. Darrell Waltrip is in second. A.J. Foyt is in third. Here they come. Waltrip trying to slingshot. Petty is out in front at the line. Waltrip to the inside. Petty wins it. And there's a fight between Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison. The tempers overflowing. They're angry. They know they have lost. And what a bitter defeat. We're into victory lane. It is absolute ecstasy for the Pettys of Level Cross, North Carolina.
Well, here on NASCAR Race Day, we've sent Jimmy and Kenny to the backstretch to sit with their fans, and we've come in here to the fan deck, and I want to bring in our good friend Ken Squire, who's helped us throughout Speedweeks here. And Ken, you know, in this day and age, we kind of take it for granted that networks like Fox and ABC just bring us wall-to-wall racing coverage. But back in '79, that was basically unheard of.
It sure was, and it was a whole different experience for crew and for the American public to enjoy this wonderful 500.
What impact do you think that had on the sport of racing?
Well, it had, no question, it had not only a great effect on the public, but it had an effect on television. And all of a sudden, there was new interest in the idea that you could go flag to flag and people would care about cars going around in circles. And it was because that CBS spent so much time in '79 talking about the nuances, the things that the race fans knew, but the general American public did not know.
And we need to take a moment to pat some of our guys that we work with on the back. The racing technology, and television that goes into racing is probably second to none.
Well, we thought in that year, we had 18 cameras. Oh my goodness, this was incredible. 18 cameras and an in-car camera in a car. And it weighed so darn much that Benny Parsons wasn't very happy with it, I'll tell you that. But as things progressed, we found those cameras in Australia later on that really also had a very important role in changing the perspective of stock car racing for the American public. And of course, in the old days, it was all still photography that made the difference. And there were great still photographers back then.
Yeah, and there certainly were great still photographers that helped us bring this sport to the American public. Racing recently lost a friend. This will be the first ever Daytona 500 without T. Taylor Warren. He's a very well-respected photographer. We lost him in the off-season, and his pictures actually helped change racing history back in the 50s.
A very important part of Daytona 500 history will come to an end today when the green flag falls on the first great American race without T. Taylor Warren. For 50 consecutive years, T. Taylor was always here, capturing some of the most iconic images of NASCAR's greatest race. It was T. Taylor's photo that helped determine the outcome of the inaugural Daytona 500 in 1959. And his presence will always be felt here at the world's center of racing and in the realms of the sport he loved and dedicated his life to. The legacy and tradition of the Daytona 500 will go on, but from this moment forward, something will always be missing. T. Taylor Warren loved the sport of stock car racing, and the sport of stock car racing was his calling.
And that voice you heard was that of Steve Burns. You can catch him and the rest of the group coming up on the Fox broadcast in just a matter of a couple of hours. But Ken, when you talk about a guy like Taylor that had been to every Daytona 500 until now, you're talking about a 50-year commitment.
Yeah, talking about a very close personal friend. And it wasn't about the action photos that I remember, T. Taylor. It was the studies of the people in the racing game. You know, those still photos where you can really look into a man's eyes and really get a sense and a feeling and understanding of their love and commitment to the game. And T. Taylor was really good at that. He also was very good at naming people. And as long as I was around with T. Taylor, I was always J. Studley Bear. I never knew how I got to be J. Studley. I could walk in anywhere and a voice in the back of the room would say, "Oh, J. Studley Bear." And I knew he was there.
All right, that's one of the certainly one of the great ones, and certainly one of a small fraternity that has been to every one of these Daytona 500s. A lot of history right there, and we'll continue to look at more Daytona 500 history as we get ready for the 51st running of the Great American Race. We got people all over this big speedway, and we'll get back to them when NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, rolls on. T-minus 2 hours before the Daytona 500, and here's the question for you. What could make going to the Daytona 500 better? Not much, right? But how about if you got to sit with either Jimmy Spencer or Kenny Wallace on the backstretch of this Colossus Daytona International Speedway? So we've sent Jimmy and Kenny out there. Jimmy's the birthday boy. Kenny Wallace is the race car driver who won this contest. And Kenny just edged Jimmy by a nose. But guys, take it away. Have some fun.
Look at this. Kenny Wallace promised everybody birthday cake. I can't believe it. He knows I'm only 32 years old, so Kenny, thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, happy birthday, Spence. What are you, 28 or 68?
Now you're talking. Hey, fans, thanks for supporting Jimmy and Kenny. Yeah, man.
Hey, listen, JR, and everybody throughout the United States, this was an awesome deal here. I have talked to these people. There are people from Mexico, Arizona, California, Spence, from all over the United States.
Even Canada. I talked to some Canadians.
And we threw out some seat cushions, and Spence has got this nice cake. And when the race starts, we are going to come back here and watch the start of the 2009 Daytona 500 with the fans, aren't we, Spence?
Well, I'm excited about it. You know, the thing is that the weather, it looks like it's just overcast and cloudy, and we got these two big, you know, they call them Trinitrons or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, look, see if we can see our, look at this.
Look right over there. Look at the view
awesome?
of this place. And now think about this. Kenny Wallace brought this up. Last year, Harvick, 2 years ago, Harvick makes the pass here going down the straightaway to win the Daytona 500. Last year, Busch and Newman get together past Tony Stewart, right about where we're standing, Kenny. How about Harvick the other night? Same thing. You know what, fans? I tell you, it's going to happen. It's going to happen in the Daytona 500 again. You're going to see the pass start right here. That's why they should have sat here with you and me.
And one thing that I want to point out is all the positive. Daytona International Speedway said, look, we know the economy's bad. We're going to sell some of these seats for $55. Boom, they're gone. So you better get ready even for next year. Look at this. Just pan that camera.
Baby. Thanks, you guys. Yeah, man.
So Spence, we'll be back here for the start of the Daytona 500, and I guess we're going to go inside and see the legend Ken Squire. Our picks.
Yeah, we got to do picks first, Kenny Wallace, and nice job out there, guys. Good to see all the fans out there, and good job of this Speedway here at Daytona to put on a great show for the fans no matter what else is going on. Now, Jimmie Johnson has won 3 championships in a row. Wendy Venturini has won 2 championships in a row when it comes to NASCAR Race Day Fantasy Racing. But look who was just 22 points behind. Wendy, that's not going to happen this year. We're going to catch you. I can't beat you in the darn bus race, but I can do it here.
Right. Whatever you guys say, you guys just keep sticking with what you're doing. I'll stick to my theory, and we'll see at the end of the season at Homestead who comes out on top. Okay, so here we are, the Daytona 500. I want to pick a winner. Again, start off the season good. So I was trying to decide who should I pick, and I'm thinking I just can't figure out who I want to do. I'm looking for inspiration. Okay, I talked to him earlier. Mark Martin, I believe, is going to win the Daytona 500 today. He's going to start me off with the fantasy picks just right. Mark Martin, new team, new number, new car, new everything for Mark Martin. Going for the championship. Both of us, Mark Martin and I, are going to win the championship in 2009. Come on, Mark.
Man, Wendy, 2 years ago, he came in second in this race, and that would be totally awesome to see Mark Martin win this thing. I don't think there'd be a dry eye in the place if he could pull that off with his new team. But if it can't be Mark Martin, it's going to be another guy that's having a great speed week so far. I'm saying that Jamie McMurray in the Crown Royal number 26, Roush Fenway Ford, is going to win this thing and surprise everybody. He has won here at this Speedway before, just not in the 500. He's fired up. He's hungry. He's got his old buddy Donnie Wingo back with him again. And this year, Jamie McMurray is going to win this and start me off with a bang here at Daytona. Next guy is going to Kenny Wallace. You got the pick next.
Okay, here's who I'm going to pick. Here is who I'm going to pick. He is from, hold on, Spence. Spence trying to get me to eat down here with the fans. My driver that is going to win the Daytona 500 lives in downtown Manhattan, New York City. And me and this driver are having fun with this song. Yo, I'm Jeff Gordon in my black SS with a navigation. So it's Jeff Gordon who will win the Daytona 500. He's driving a black SS now. Thank you, Jimmy.
I know you don't have cool.
Now it's your turn. You got to quit eating for a little bit, Spence.
Oh, hey, none other than the Wood brothers out of Stewart, Virginia. They put a lot of effort into this team. I'm excited about Bill Elliott's reassurance back in this sport. He's won here before. Bill Elliott today.
Are y'all finished eating yet over there? What are y'all doing?
Hermie, it's fantastic. You can't believe this cake.
Listen, I am making this pick under protest. I don't think Wendy should be able to pick first because I'm a single car team and she won last year. But anyway, get to the point. Juan Pablo Montoya in the Target Chevy, I think he will finally start realizing some of the potential he had when he came to NASCAR. I think the merger with Ganassi and Earnhardt, putting him in a Chevrolet with a little better equipment, a little more durable equipment, I think will start showing today that he will be a factor in 2009. He'll win the Daytona 500 and make the chase and take me to the point lead headed next week to California. Thank you very much.
All right, Hermie Sadler, let's recap the picks, see who picked whom in this first round of fantasy racing here on NASCAR Race Day. And you know what? We got to do something about Wendy. We just got to get up there and knock her off this pedestal. Wendy Venturini picked the Mark Martin, and the same rules apply this year as did last year. If your driver wins for you, therefore you cannot pick that driver until the chase. There's been a cake incident on the backstretch. Looks like Rutledge has hit the wall. or hit the cake or whatever. You knew that was going to happen. And you know what? None of us picked Junior or Jimmie Johnson. Are we crazy? Well, we know that. We are now less than 2 hours away from the 51st running of the Daytona 500. Welcome back once again, everybody, to NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. Coming to you from one of the most famous sporting venues anywhere in the world, the Daytona International Speedway. Wendy Venturini and Hermie Sadler are down in the middle of it all, so let's check back in with Mr. Hermie Sadler.
Well, thank you, JR, and standing by with a legend of our sport, AJ Foyt. Welcome back to Daytona. First of all, tell us a little bit about, I know when Tony Stewart started his team, you made a commitment to be here in Daytona supporting him, and you've been doing just that.
Well, that's quite true. When I tell someone I'm going to do something, come hell or high water, I'm going to do it one way or the other. But I've never understood, what does a legend mean? My old name's just AJ, that's all. But no, we've been friends for many years, and I'm just glad to see him doing what he's doing.
How do you, you've known him a long time, obviously, and it's a pretty big undertaking being an owner. You've been an owner in different sports as well. How do you think he'll handle being a driver and an owner and getting the job done on the racetrack?
Well, I think he'll do a good job because, first of all, he's a great race driver and he knows what he wants and he knows the type of people he needs to put it up front. So that makes a big difference when you're an owner. So now if he was just going to be an owner and never drove a race car, it might be a lot harder. But with him in the position he's in right now, I think he's doing the right thing.
What's your outlook for the race today? What do you think we'll see? Different weather, obviously, but you've been around this racetrack many times. What do you think we're going to see when we get underway this afternoon?
Well, I think it's going to be a great race. I think it's going to be a hard race. And like I said, the first race, I wasn't here. He ran third, and then when I was here, he ran second. So he's got just one other spot to go, and that's first. So that's what we're pulling for is number one.
Well, we're going to go to Wendy Venturini, and thank you for joining us on race day. Wendy?
All right, thanks, Hermie. We're waiting for the drivers' meeting. It just let out. Now, this is a very chaotic area. A lot of the crew chiefs, they're making their way out. This is where the race fans line up. They're hoping to get their best shot of their favorite driver. Now, keep in mind, a lot of times the wives, the children, they're waiting after the drivers' meeting for church to start. So we just saw a lot of the family, a lot of the kids waiting. Some of the drivers that don't stay for church, they're going to be coming out in just a little bit. So we'll keep you posted what happens here now that the drivers' meeting has let out. I know it was a long one because we have a lot of celebrities joining us for the Daytona 500, and you always have to go over some of those rule changes, Johnny, because there are some of those for 2009.
Wendy, thanks a lot. We're going to take a look at some of those rule changes a little bit later, but one thing for certain they always talk about in the drivers' meeting before one of these restrictor plate races is don't improve your position below the yellow line, and this year we have a double yellow line to make sure the drivers know that is doubly important. Well, Jimmy Spencer and Kenny Wallace are trying to make their way back to join us again. Wendy and Hermie are going after some drivers, and we still have a lot of NASCAR race day left from here in Daytona. We're up on top of the fan deck having a good time, so stay with us. Over the years, the word Daytona has become synonymous with racing and racing excellence. The best of drivers in the world have competed on this venue, and some of them have taken it right down to the wire. Ryan Newman winning last year was the first plate victory ever for Roger Penske, and Kevin Harvick a couple years before that was the first time he drove to victory lane in the Daytona 500 for Richard Childress. Now, on the dual day, Kyle Busch was able to come to the front and win one of these dual races, and in duel number 2, it was Jeff Gordon who had a 41 race absence from victory lane, and daughter Ella Sophia has joined him in victory lane now for another time. Title number 4 is now in the works for Jimmie Johnson, and what a better way for Jimmie Johnson to start that quest for that 4th title in a row than with the Daytona 500 win. A little bit of gray skies over top of the palm trees now, but to brighten our day, let's check back in with Wendy Venturini.
All right, I'm with AJ Allmendinger, who raced his way in on Thursday's dual races on Speed. AJ, congratulations on officially making your first Daytona 500.
Thank you. This is nuts. There's so many people here. I'm just trying to walk the crowds. Luckily, nobody knows who I am, so nobody really asked for anything, so that's pretty good. But no, I'm pumped up to be here. You know, Valvoline and just everybody that stepped up to be part of this 44 car, and I just can't wait to get going. Hopefully the weather allows this, but no matter what, the important thing is when we do drop the green, the Valvoline Dodge will be in the race, so that's all that matters.
That is very important. Now, the drivers' meeting just let out. Pretty exciting for the Daytona 500. We always have a lot of celebrities. Different vibe in this drivers' meeting, wasn't it?
Oh, man, I think everybody knows it's going to be an exciting race. the driver, I don't know how, when they build the rooms, I don't think they expect that many people in the driver's meet, because there had to be a good 10,000 people there, it seemed like. But yeah, you know, you got people like Gene Hackman, Tom Cruise, the coach, Steve Spurrier, Tim Tebow. I mean, you got all kinds of people in there. So for me, I'm just in awe of looking at all these people, and then I forget that I actually get to race this race. So this is a cool thing to be a part of. I can't wait to get this thing started, and you can't take the smile off my face.
Now, we talked to Joey Logano earlier in the show. Of course, 18-year-old, starting his first Daytona 500, your first Daytona 500, but maybe the pressure, is it still the same for you? Because you got to be feeling a bundle of nerves. This is the Daytona 500.
Definitely, and you know, I think this isn't a lot of pressure. Thursday was a lot of pressure. This is just the icing on the cake, and obviously we want to get the season kick started right, and this is how you do it. You run well at Daytona, and it kind of just seems to snowball the season in the good direction that we need to be going. But, you know, it is. There's no substitute for the Daytona 500. There's nothing that can take this away from me, and I can't wait for them to call my name and get in that race car and start these engines and get going.
I know you had sunglasses on after the Thursday's duel, but I was okay to see you cry. You could cry on TV. It's okay. Yeah.
I didn't. You know, I'm trying to go for that tough guy image, but that would have just kind of wiped that away right away. But you know, if I didn't have the sunglasses, my wife was nice enough to get me the sunglasses as quick as possible because she saw the tears going down. But you know, if they weren't there, I'd have been okay. I'd have cried.
It's okay, and we would have been with you too. AJ Allmendinger will start his first Daytona 500, and who knows, maybe he'll be crying later if he's in victory lane with you guys, Johnny.
Wendy, thanks a lot. That is definitely a cry-worthy achievement, making your first Daytona 500. We don't blame you at all, AJ. When we come back on the other side of this commercial break, CEO of NASCAR, Brian France, will join Hermie Sadler to talk about today's race and the state of the sport.
Next week, Cousin Carl used the SoCal Sun to launch his hot start last season. And he'll lead the pack back to Los Angeles for a little desert throwdown. Will he do another February flip? Or will some other usual suspect steal the show? Live from Fontana, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
Welcome back to Race Day, everyone, as we continue to count down to the Daytona 500. And you know, each one of these 50 previous Daytona 500s have been a crowning achievement of the France family. It was their brainchild, their idea, and they started it all here at Daytona Beach. Let's now take you down to Hermie Sadler, who is standing by with Brian France. Hermie?
Yeah, thank you, JR. Standing by with Brian France. First of all, thanks for joining us on Race Day, Brian. A lot of talk has been, obviously, about the economic challenges that everybody has faced, not just NASCAR. But what kind of statement does it make, not only for NASCAR, the Daytona 500, but the fans? We're going to have a packed house here today at Daytona.
We will have a packed house. You know, the economic issues are what they are, but today's about racing, and today's about what people really want to do, take a day off and just watch the great American race, and we're looking forward. Hopefully the weather will cooperate, because it'll be one of the best Daytona 500s, I think, the way things have gone so far. So we just want to get it underway.
One of the fun things that we've been able to watch this week is new teams, small teams, kind of like the days of old. Guys are coming back in, getting the opportunity to live that dream to make the Daytona 500. That's been a positive spin to all this.
It has, and it's been neat to see some of the teams with Jeremy Mayfield and how quick they were able to put those teams together. And that's the new car. That's the new car economics, that they feel like they could come and put a competitive car forward and make the Daytona 500, and they did. So looking forward to getting them, watching how those guys do as well.
This is a big race, obviously the biggest in NASCAR. The winner of this race is going to have a busy media whirlwind next week. What can we expect to see from the winner of the Daytona 500 next week?
Well, he'll be busy. That'll be for sure, but that goes with the territory. And I think this is always a trip to New York and different places, but that's anybody who wins it doesn't mind those obligations.
Tell us, what do you expect to see? Obviously, we talked before we came on. We expect to see one of the best Daytona 500s as far as competition that we've ever seen.
You know, you want the cars to handle well enough, but you also want to have some flexibility where it's in the driver's hands. You're seeing that now. You're seeing, you know, guys really jumping, bumping around out there, and it's that makes the most. That's what we're all about. That makes NASCAR racing what it is. So, my sense of it is there's, you know, I don't know, 30 teams out there that really believe that they can win, and in the right circumstances, you can get in their teams late in the race in that top 10. You hear that a lot. Got to be with a 20 to go. That's going to be the key in watching things start in the beginning, middle, and the end.
We heard you say last question about NASCAR getting back to basics. I don't ever remember a year when so many drivers and crew members have been more interactive with the fans that are here. What's the initiative headed into this year for NASCAR?
Well, to be humble. We got to realize that everybody's trying to do their best to make sacrifices, come to the races, and we got the best fans in the world, and our drivers understand that. They're going to do everything they can to give them the best value and best experience, and that says a lot about our sport.
And back to you, JR, but I can tell you, talking to Mr. France before we went on the air, very, very excited to get this race underway.
Hermie, thanks a lot, and thanks so much to the France family who made this whole thing, the Daytona 500, possible over 50 years ago. Now we're going to check in with the drivers' meeting, and it's always one of the most important drivers' meetings of the year. Not only is it the Daytona 500 in the first one, but there are also a lot of rules that come with the territory at these restrictor plate tracks.
The restart area is clearly defined this year with double red marks on the outside wall. The leader or control car cannot restart the race before reaching the double red marks. The starter will display the green if the leader or control car has not restarted the race by the single red mark on the wall on the inside or on the inside apron. It will be the leader or control car's discretion to restart in the zone between the double red marks and a single red mark on the outer wall. The length of the zone is 50 feet in length. The second or inside yellow line has been added for our fans to indicate that this is a no passing zone. The outer yellow line is in the same location as last year.
So you only have the pressure of racing in the Daytona 500, all these fans watching, all the money at stake, and then you got to remember all that stuff. Jimmy and Kenny back from the the Jimmy and Sit with Jimmy and Kenny. Join us at the fan deck. Guys, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks to be back. But you know, Kenny, that yellow line is going to be big. Remember Talladega last year? Tony Stewart and
Regan Smith.
And Regan Smith beats Tony Stewart. But you know what? He went below the yellow line. Double yellow line this year. The other thing, Kenny, 20 laps. When there's less than 20 laps, it will be a single file restart.
Well, you know, one thing that NASCAR wants to see, they want the drivers to simulate that there's a concrete wall at the yellow line. We asked about these judgment calls, you know, and in the truck race right here on Speed, you know, Todd Bodine passed for the lead, and they said, hey, black flag. You know, Talladega last fall, I mean, you know, once again, here we go. Regan Smith below the yellow line, but they said if you can see the checkered flag, it's legal. Regan Smith wins the race, but NASCAR says, no, you pass below the yellow line. There was discrepancy. You know, some people were going to look. NASCAR says if you can see the checkered flag, everything is legal. Well, we have found out, and NASCAR says, look, here we go. Let's watch Todd Bodine at the start. Todd Bodine, here he goes, below both yellow lines. They do black flag him. So NASCAR says, look, we want you to think there's a concrete wall there. So, you know, they finally, you know, declared it, look, don't go below the yellow line or we're going to black flag you.
But what they always say, though, Kenny, is that different situations require different actions, that not every pass below the yellow line is the same. That's why they leave it open for their discretion.
No, they have ceased it. There is no more. That double yellow line, you go below
That's
you're
just
going
it.
back. That's it. They've ceased that. Now, they will say about the force, but let's face it, Tony Stewart forced Regan down.
Yeah.
And now it's still, if you go below the yellow line, lift and go behind the
Yeah,
car.
I just want to clarify one thing. When NASCAR says if you push a driver down there, you may be black flag. Well, they should just stop saying that, because every driver I've seen go below the yellow line 9 times out of 10 was pushed down there, and they never black flag that driver.
Well, we're going to see how that all pans out on the racetrack this afternoon. Let's hope that doesn't decide who wins this 51st Daytona 500. Let it be handled on the regular racetrack, not below the yellow line. We'll be back with more Race Day in just a moment.